All right, I think we're live. So welcome everyone to another Matt Maran Motoring live stream here on the Matt Maran Motoring YouTube channel. I hope you're all having a great weekend here. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and all the mother figures out there. Hope you're all having a great day and feeling very appreciated. I know, Beth is does a lot, being a mom as well, and it's a very much thankless job sometimes. So huge thanks to all the mothers out there for everything you do. But anyway, like all the other usual live streams, we're going to go for about 2 hours or so. I'll give priority answering to anyone who does a super chat or a super thanks, as well as anyone who is a member there with the green usernames. They always get that priority answering. If you'd like that as well, there's always a link in the description to join and get that as well. But anyway, so welcome to Brian, Truck and Car Guy, Cam Jam, Raphael, Jazz, Cars, Chadwick, Zachary, and Babs, Sweetman, Michelle, Tion, Lennon, Guitar, Kevin, RT, and another Kevin. Thank you all so much for joining in here, and Jay. And I see. Let me see. Cars, I appreciate it. Says Happy Mother's Day to Beth. And Chadwick says greetings from Cleveland, and fellow car enthusiasts, hello and welcome. I see RT has got the first question here. He says, I just bought a 2024 C8 Corvette. Congrats, that's awesome. Do you think they're good cars? Absolutely, they're fantastic. I was on the launch event for the C8. That was one of the last ones I went on before COVID shut everything down. And fantastic. It's awesome on track, awesome, on the road, and had one for a week. Loved it. Had a convertible on snow tires in the middle of winter here in Pittsburgh. That was a blast as well. The Z06 is amazing. Had that last fall, and I'm going to be testing out an E-Ray here soon as well. So lots of experience with C8s. They are fantastic, tons of fun, and congrats on getting one. That's awesome. And let me see. Also, I see Mike saying, hey, Matt, I know there hasn't been any recent rumors, but if you had to put your money on it now based on the trends we've seen with GM, do you think the Corvette SUVs will be gas or electric? So the last report that I saw was suggesting that Corvette SUV would be a gas-powered vehicle that directly competes with Cayenne, and that was going to be the way they're going, because it sounds like now even C9 Corvette's going to be gas powered, which I know is kind of maybe a shock for some people because everyone was assuming it'd be electric, but I think they are going to keep it around with the gas engine. So I would think that it would stay gas, especially now. The last time I heard those reports was a few months ago, before we started to see EV sales slow down a little bit. And so now hearing how GM's pivoting into plug-in hybrids and stuff like that, what do you see all of the European brands that they want to compete with? What is the Cayenne doing? Plug-in hybrid versions left and right. They're adding more of those and making that, the top performing stuff. And so I think you will see maybe it be plug-in hybrid for the Corvette SUV, but I think it will have a gas component. I especially nowadays with everyone slowing down their EV rollouts, I think that's a safe bet, is it'll be gas powered, at least for the first generation here. No guarantees after that. I see also Matt Robinson says, long time watcher, first time live viewer. As long as you keep making videos, I'll keep watching. Thank you. I really appreciate that, Matt. And let me see. Cam Gem says, love to see the V8 Miata video, over 400,000 views. Yeah, it has been really nice to see this past week. That has been the biggest hit, at least as far as car reviews goes. That's been the biggest hit of this decade for me so far. And I'm just so blown away. I thought, like last year, I had the Impala SS video get to 200,000 views and then kind of, slow down after that. And I was assuming this would, best case scenario, kind of do that. And the fact that it's still cruising, it's slowing down a little bit now. I think it's like 430,000, but it's still gaining views. And I'm just so appreciative to that video and the owner of that car for that, that shop for letting me, review that, because I've gotten so many more subscribers in the past week after that video. Obviously the views are great, and the ad revenue of, 400,000 views is definitely, very much needed and very appreciated as well. But, I'm just really excited. It seems like it's kind of breathed a little bit of new life into the channel. We will just have to see, but like this past week's videos have done better than they usually do. I mean, you could argue maybe they were just, videos that would have done well anyway, like the Sky Redline. When's the last time someone did a review on a Sky? That's why I rushed out and did that car. And then, with the Ram, it has issues, and that's always going to be like a very interesting thing for people to want to click on and see what the issues were, and, that whole thing. So, we'll see, if I can sustain any kind of momentum going off of that video going forward. But once I start getting into the more usual stuff, once again, I'm going to try and keep it as exciting as possible. I got a lot of great sports cars coming up this, spring and summer here. And actually going almost into the fall, I got, still some cool stuff scheduled, hopefully. But, there's going to be the ordinary stuff mixed in as well. So I'm just really hoping that I can keep the momentum going, and that it can really be kind of a turning point for the channel. I know a lot of people, also said they're going to start watching more after seeing the Bullet video and stuff. So there's a lot of that hopefully I'm really, really hoping this is kind of turning a new page for the channel here. We'll see, but it's very, very exciting to see for sure. And thanks for mentioning that and for noticing that, Jim, because it's been fun. Trend Car Guy says, it's a shame we aren't likely to get the WX Wagon here stateside. Yeah, the tiny bit of optimism in me that is still remaining would like to think that, Mexico getting it was just a poorly timed PR thing, and that hopefully we'll get it here in the States as well. Because I really, trying to look at it from every single angle, I'm like, why would Mexico get it and us not get it? And, yes, they have looser safety standards, but, again, these are vehicles coming out of Japan that are sold in Australia, that are sold in Europe and stuff, where there are, more demanding safety things really than what we have here in the States. So it's not a safety thing. There shouldn't be any certification issues. Otherwise, the engine is going to be the same as the regular WX. So I don't know. I can't understand why, unless they all of a sudden there's a huge surge, maybe in wagon popularity in Mexico or something. But again, surely they would still sell more in the States than in Canada. But so I don't know. It's so bizarre that it almost makes you think like it surely must be coming to the States. But I mean, Subaru's, done plenty of bizarre things like that before. And I just sometimes think they just like screwing with us just because someone, has fun seeing our agony. I don't know. But yeah, it's very strange for sure. And your name here, thank you so much for the super chat there. I don't see any comment attached to it, but I will keep an eye out if you have any questions or anything. I'll be more than happy to answer. But thank you so much for the super chat. The Good Stick says, what's a good sports car that is reliable and good on gas? I was thinking of getting the car after college. I would say Miata would be probably the best pick. Because the Boxer motors don't do quite as well on gas as the Miata's motor does. So I'd say Miata for sure. Anything small, light, fairly low horsepower sports car is going to be, obviously the better bets there. Honestly, though, even EcoBoost Mustang, if you're okay with, getting one of those, they get pretty good fuel economy for what they are as well. But I'd say any of those, ones I mentioned should be some of the best. If you have any follow-up questions, though, feel free to, ask, provide more context and stuff. I'd be more than happy to help narrow it down for you there. And SF, thank you so much for a super chat. He says, what are some ideas you have been potentially thinking about for content creation? Greetings from Ontario, Canada. Yeah, thanks so much. I mean, as far as content, ideas, I mean, there's been a few things we've discussed too, or even on the live chats in the past where, like one of the things is the car news, might be better served on a different channel. If I just did a second channel just dedicated to car news, and it was like, okay, if you wanted to follow the car news stuff, do that. And that also could kind of also transition potentially into going away from doing weekly roundups and trying to get out little daily videos, or whenever there's something newsworthy, even if I'm not the first person to put a video out there about it or something, if I'm just, that evening or whenever doing a quick little 3-minute voiceover, like, hey, this new thing came out today. Here you guys go. See you tomorrow or whatever, just starting to kind of set that up. Because I feel like that's also, if I wanted to really cover news well, you got to cover it the day of, or, a lot closer. Some of these things, they come out on Monday and I don't talk about it until, Friday. It's kind of stale, and news is not something you can snooze on. If you're not on top of the news, like, it's just going to not be a great recipe for success. And I was talking with, Omar from Omar Drives, who does kind of little, 60-second like news clips on TikTok and on Instagram of, car news stuff, kind of similar to what I do, but again, just in like a short form format. And I was chatting with him for a while on a recent event, and he was like, even if you just post stuff, it doesn't have to be right away, but even if you just post stuff, it makes sense to kind of do it as a separate thing. He's like, look, he's like, being totally honest, he's like, your weekly update, you have, maybe the 2 or 3 most interesting things of the week there in the title. Everything else gets buried. What if someone's looking for, hey, what's the new 2025 X5? YouTube, it's in the tags, it's in the description, but no one's going to find that. No one's going to see that. And so, aside from just the few of you that, enjoy getting a rundown of, hey, here's everything coming out this week. If I want to get every potential person that's interested in every vehicle that I'm covering in a weekly update, burying that stuff in, a bunch of timestamps is not really that helpful. So, it seems like the inevitable path for the weekly updates is going to be, not doing them weekly and just doing them daily. Again, it's just, I don't know if I have the time to keep up with that. But even if it's late news stuff, even if I just take what would be a weekly update and basically film a weekly update, but instead of doing it as one big video, I chop it at every single, well, that was interesting to see. Next, just every time I say that, cut right there, new upload, cut right there, new upload, and just dump, 7 or 8 videos or whatever on a Friday, and maybe start it off like that until I have time to pepper them out throughout the week. But then that's why, putting on a separate channel, that way I'm not overloading people with, a ton of videos in the sub feed on this main channel here, and just keep this one just for reviews. And I think also for the algorithm, separating that out is also helpful, because then it's just like, okay, these people are into cars. They're either car shopping, they're just like watching car reviews or whatever. And that's one thing. And then, that doesn't screw up the recommendations for the weekly updates and vice versa. I think, it made sense to keep it under the same roof before, because it's like, this is all car stuff. So if you like cars, you should be interested in all this stuff. But I think, especially going forward, if I start doing more used cars and I start doing more, going backwards and doing less of the stuff in the future that many of you have said you're not interested in or excited about or can't afford, or, the whole laundry list of reasons why new cars aren't exciting to a lot of people these days, those people aren't going to watch a weekly update about new stuff. So it's, again, trying to preserve the algorithm and not giving it the wrong idea, I think, is kind of important these days. So that's really the main thing I'm thinking about doing, is just splitting that off to its own channel. And then outside of that, I mean, there's, a bunch of other ideas, things that I'm going to probably just try again and see, if there's any more interest in. Like, I'd love to do junkyard walks. I love walking through junkyards. And I did one of those last year. Didn't get great views, wasn't horrible views wise. And it was sponsored, so that made it worthwhile. But, trying to find a way to do more junkyard videos, because they're easy to make. I literally just walk through a junkyard, talk about what's out there. It's always kind of interesting, at least in my opinion. It's like super fascinating, whether it's cringy mods or, crash damage, or just being like, hey, I haven't seen one of those on the road in forever. Just, to me, that is like a goldmine of really interesting stuff if you're a car person. It hasn't connected so far with my audience, but I still think there's potential there. So I want to try and, play around with that idea a little bit more. There's a bunch of stuff. I have a huge list of ideas, but those are some of the top, things I'm going to try to get to. But I mean, definitely doing more used stuff. I saw a lot of people that, were commenting on the Miata video, commenting on the Bullet video, saying, we want to see more used stuff. We want to see more modified stuff. I don't love doing the modified stuff all the time. I feel like that's not really me anymore. I think David, that dude in blue, does a great job with that already. I will still do some from time to time, but, for me, the passion is helping people find a car they'll love, not showing off someone's really cool build. That has its own merit. And again, David and others are really good at that. But, I think for me, it's helping people find a cool car. So even if that cool car is a 2007 Saturn Sky, like, that's fine. But I think, for me, it's still going to always try and be like consumer advice in some form or another, while still trying to be entertaining and interesting. But I mean, I'm definitely doing a lot more used stuff. In the past year here, I've done a lot compared to the past 5 years. And I'm going to really keep at that. And I think, again, there's huge potential in that, because who's got money for a $50,000 new car anymore? But, a $10,000 Saturn Sky or something like that, that's a really tempting idea for a lot of people, and so I think there's a lot of potential there. So that's another thing I'm definitely going towards. But I'll leave it at those few things for now. I could go on all night about stuff that I could potentially, play around with. But those are the main top things I think for the channel for the immediate future here. And Adam, thank you so much for another super chat as well. He says, "Hey Matt from Wyoming, been a long time a Subaru WRX driver. Want something different. Thoughts on the GT350?" I really like the GT350. I mean, it's an amazing car. Obviously, they sound so good. Every time one is even within any kind of view of me, I'm always rolling down my windows like, oh man, I got to hear it. Even if it's like far away, I'm like, oh, got to hear that. Got to hear that amazing engine. The Voodoo motor is just magical. I like them. I did two reviews on them. I did it when they first came out, and I just revisited it whenever they were ending their production here back in, I think it was 2020 or 2021. I did that. So definitely watch those videos if you haven't already. I also did a video back when I got the Bullet, or when I was buying the Bullet, about why I wasn't getting a GT350 and got the Bullet instead. So I kind of give more thoughts on GT350 there. So lots of good videos there if you're really wanting to get a lot of my impressions, but high level, quick little overview. I would just say it's an amazing car. It's just a little bit of a temperamental car. The Voodoo motor, some people, I think the owner's manual actually says like it's not out of the ordinary if it burns a quart of oil every 1,000 miles. So it's not the type of car. I mean, there are people that have daily driven them and put a ton of miles on them and stuff. But to me, the GT350 is more of a special occasion, weekend kind of car. That's how I would treat it and go about it. And it's going to be a car you got to keep an eye on. You got to, check the dipstick every week. You got to, really stay on top of this stuff with that car if you want it to, hold up well and all that. If you're willing to be the type of person that puts in that kind of extra work and all that, then that's great. And I think it'll reward you obviously with an amazing driving experience. It has the best manual out of any of the Mustangs. Just so many, perks to it. It's just, it's higher maintenance. So as long as that's something you're okay with, I'd also say make sure that any ones you're looking at, definitely look at the Carfax, because a lot of them, the motors blew, especially in the first year or two. Either people just didn't understand and were just treating like a regular Mustang, or just there was some temperamental stuff with them. And especially in the early days there, like it was, to me, I've kind of viewed the motor as like a ticking time bomb. I think these days they've kind of worked some of that stuff out. A lot of people got replacement motors under warranty and they've been fine since. So I'm not sure if there's just a bad batch there or what, but I mean, I was kind of scared off from those. I mean, not like I was considering one seriously anyway. It was a little out of my price range anyway, but it's a temperamental motor, it seems. Again, some people have great luck with them and they drive the snot out of them and never have to add oil and it's fine. Other people, again, it's every 1,000 miles, they got to top it off. So, that's the only thing I will say to warn you about it. Other than that, it's a fantastic car and highly recommend. It's great if you want a manual. I still think, Charger and Challenger also have, and, Camaro have their own perks and their own really amazing features about all of them as well. So I don't think Mustang's the only amazing driving experience out there, but it is certainly, I think, the most special with the Voodoo. It's just going to come down to, again, what your temperament is like as far as maintenance and stuff. And hopefully that helps you a little bit. And thank you again, Adam, for the super chat. And let me see. So getting back to the member questions here, I'm going to do a better job tonight of answering member questions, since last week I just basically didn't answer any because it was just super chats galore. So I apologize again for any of the members that didn't get their questions answered last week, but I'm going to definitely make sure I do that better this week here. So Tony says, "Hey Matt, happy Mother's Day to Beth and every mother out there." Yeah, I appreciate it, Tony. Thanks for stopping by. Luke says, "It's a shame now that you have the views and the money after the car is gone." Yeah, I mean, it's not like it's fixing everything. I mean, yes, this is going to be a very good month, as far as ad revenue goes. But is that going to last? That's really the thing. If the Miata video had happened a few months ago, then maybe I would have kept the Bullet a few more months or something. But again, if this is still, again, we will just have to see if the channel directory, trajectory changes, then that's great. But I got stuff I get caught up on financially and stuff too before I would ever, entertain getting something else again anyway. So it's, I still am confident I made the right decision. It's not like if I would have got that, that video out, a few months sooner, I would have been fine. Like it still would have been a problem, that needed to be solved by selling the car, unfortunately. And Linda says, "Fingers crossed that the channel is on the upswing. Happy Mother's Day to Beth." Thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. And Happy Mother's Day to you or anyone else out there that's a mom. Once again, any mother figures, it's hope you're all having a great day. Let me see. Cam Jam says, since I asked you about the Civic and the Mustang EcoBoost, I've watched some owners' videos about the Civic, and I don't know if it will have enough power for my speed demon itself. Yeah, the Civic, I mean, it's not super punchy for sure. So definitely test drive one if you can get your hands on one, see what you think. But I mean, EcoBoost is great. And it depends. I think you said you were looking at used ones, if I remember correctly. Because the only thing I will say is I know Cam Jam in the past you were saying you want to keep the car for like 12 years. EcoBoost, I mean, it could probably do it depending on how much you drive. But the other thing is the direct injection on the first gen EcoBoost motors is just it's going to need that valve cleaning and stuff. It gets gunked up after a while, which is something you've had that issue with other European stuff for a while. But this new EcoBoost motor, if you're going for a 24, it actually has the port injection. They added that in plus the direct injection. So it does both. So, I mean, again, that motor, they claim it's an all new motor for the 24 EcoBoost. I'm going to try and dig into it a little bit more because I'm going to be having an EcoBoost Mustang here to review soon. So I'm going to, try and figure that out a little bit more. But if that motor turns out to be solid and it has the direct import injection, then 24 could be the way to go if you really want to have one and keep it a long time. Again, not sure if a 24 is on your radar in your budget or anything, but that's the only thing I will say about those that might be a little bit beneficial. But yeah, I mean, EcoBoost is great. I mean, it's so much power for the money. Even these days, even with prices going up and stuff, it's still like, well, where else are you going to get 300 plus horsepower for that kind of money? There's not a ton of options out there. So definitely a solid buy. And I see you said, I might have to sacrifice some reliability there. And Sean, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, I think you've touched on it before, but do you have trouble finding sponsors? Also, maybe just making short videos for Facebook, clips from reviews, or TikTok to increase viewership. So sponsors, I'm always up for sponsors as long as it's something that is not cringy to do an ad for and something that I think at least is mildly interesting to you guys. And so I'm selective, but like last year I did a bunch of ads. And there was a lot more people that were, approaching me to do ads last year. This year it's been really slow. I think it's really seasonal though as well. I think there's a lot of people that, they don't have really a lot of ad budget. And then like towards the end of the year, they're like, oh, wait, we got money left over. Let's hurry up and like dump it on a bunch of influencers. And then they, push all this stuff, for Black Friday and stuff like that. But I'm always open to sponsors. A lot of other reviewers either have someone that like is out there trying to sell ads for them, or they have, they focus on pitching themselves more. I don't have time to pitch myself and hunt down people's emails and pester people and follow up with emails. And so I wait for companies to approach me, and otherwise I'm just focusing on trying to do as much as I can, because again I'm only one person. There's only so much that I can do in a day, and so pitching people that probably aren't interested is just not high on my priority list there. But it certainly is great whenever I can, and I have some existing connections. Shell calls me up and says, hey, Matt, we want to have you do something. Like, I'm there. Like, I've been working with them for almost a decade now at this point. So like, I have a really close friend that, it works with them now. And anytime he's like, hey, there's a new Shell thing, I'm like, sign me up. I'm like, if you're there, I'm there. Like, it doesn't matter what the contract's like, doesn't matter, what the rates are. Like, I know he'll take care of me, and if they want to do something with me, like, I'm always down. So there's some of those types of things too. Pull Apart is another company that I have a great relationship with, and I've done stuff with a couple of times now. And it's like, I can always send them an email and say, hey, let's do another Junkyard walk and see what they say, things like that. But outside of the few good relationships, a lot of them, it's just they have their quota they need to hit of, let's try and advertise to this niche of YouTube, and they fill that niche, they, cross that off their list, and, then they never talk to me again. And that's the way most of those, kind of mainstream companies are. Last year I did Harry's, Factor. I even did Mint Mobile, a bunch of these, it's more so of like a, hey, this is a one and done kind of thing, unless you like sell a ton of stuff for them that they like, feel like they need you or something. But outside of that, it's really hard to link those as a, regular thing most of the time, at least in my experience. As far as shorts videos for Facebook and TikTok, honestly, it's, TikTok, I guess, now pays a little bit better. I'm a little nervous about investing any time in TikTok, especially now with their rocky future. I mean, I'm sure someone will buy them and they'll figure out this whole thing with, the government's trying to ban them and all this stuff. So TikTok, I'm kind of putting on hold. I've also heard all kinds of crappy stuff about TikTok, just in a variety of ways. And just, I have no interest in doing TikTok. That's one thing I'm fine to get left behind on. I already have been left behind on that, but Facebook pays zero. And these days, especially, I'm not working for free. And so if I'm going to invest in short form videos, it's going to be on shorts, because at least that has a direct link with the algorithm to this channel, which is what pays the bills. And so it's all about YouTube for me. And I honestly think YouTube is the most stable. And again, I guess you could say I'm an employee. I'm paid by them, so maybe I'm biased, but like they're the one that takes care of creators. Facebook was paying people pretty good for a while there for videos and stuff, and then like the rug got pulled out from everyone, and like no one makes any kind of decent money anymore. Even like giant channels, that these giant automotive channels with millions of followers on Facebook, they make like hardly anything anymore. So it just, you can't trust Facebook, you can't trust TikTok to actually have your back, versus YouTube has been supporting creators ever since the beginning, really. And so it's all about YouTube for me. I'm directing everything towards YouTube and just investing in their ecosystem more than anything else. And as far as, making short videos, that's also extra work, extra stuff that may or may not pay off. Like shorts don't pay anything either. Some people say it helps you with growth, but it's a lot of times just vanity growth of like, woo, look, I got 100,000 subscribers, but there's subscribers that only want to see more short form stuff, which doesn't pay anything. So great, I got 100,000 new people that know my name, but they're watching stuff that pays zero. And cool. I mean, as you can throw that to a brand and say, hey, look, I got 100,000 more followers now, I'm going to charge more for this ad or something. But it's all just like BS at this point. It's just, there's a giant, most of these channels, myself included, have a ton of dormant subscribers that should have unsubscribed a long time ago and didn't. And obviously I don't get 400,000 views on every video I get, so it's like, what are those? It's just, the subscriber thing is just kind of not worth chasing. And so like viewership, the view counts, the subscriber counts, I'm kind of over that. If the videos earn well, then that's great, but I don't care about it. Wow, that short got 1 million views. That doesn't impress me or excite me at all. Because it's just, I know that there's a zero behind that as far as how much they actually made off of that, or a few bucks, but certainly nothing even close to what they should have earned for bringing 1 million viewers to that platform, for that video or whatever. And SF, thank you so much for another super chat. It says, what do you see yourself getting next if your channel continues to progress in the right direction within the short term? I mean, I'm going to really try to ride not having a car as long as possible, just to try to, get my family and our situation into the best possible from a financial standpoint, and get us, to a better stable place, to better weather this storm of YouTube, which is getting more and more uncertain every day. I'd like to just even build up a savings account, and do all these basic things just to try and have a little bit more of a safety net here. So, it's not quite as, risky as, it is right now, so I think that's definitely, if I need a car, like I've said before, GR86 is probably what I'll end up getting if I were to get something. Although I'm telling you what, these Ioniq 6 lease deals, they get like better and better every month. So like, it's so tempting just to pick one up, just because it almost feels like a free car at this point. I mean, I'm sure insurance rates are going to be pretty high for it, but last month it was $239 a month with $239 down for an Ioniq 6, and that is the base one. But the base one's really nice. It's an SE. It's rear-wheel drive, which is fine for me. It's still like 250 horsepower, 300 miles of range for $239 a month. Now they changed the lease deal this month. It's $189 a month. You have to put $2,000 down now. I'm sure if you just switch the deal a little bit and don't put the $2,000 down, it would just raise the monthly payment to probably close to $239, maybe a little bit higher now, but it's still like stupid cheap for the lease for a $45,000 or $40,000 car that is really good, that has a ton of space. It's really nice, really safe. Really solid. It has some of the fastest recharge, 18-minute recharge, from 10 to 80% and stuff. It's just like super, super impressive for the money. So like, if I just need transportation, I'd probably just grab an Ioniq 6 lease, honestly. But if it's something I'm trying to get a few views on the channel and do something a little bit more fun, it'd be a JR86 most likely. There's a few other things I've considered as far as options goes. But that's probably still it's gonna be the top one. And Austin, thanks so much for rejoining. I really appreciate it. And Sean, thanks for being a member for 22 months. He says, I'm writing a book. I'll pay for an ad. I'm self-publishing, so it'll be a 5-second ad, but still it'll buy you guys lunch. Hey, 5 seconds is again, I'm up for any ad. So yeah, if you want to send me an email, Sean, more than happy to say, hey, check out Sean's new book, and links in the description. And if it's something quick and easy like that, even if it's just lunch money, I'm not going to say no to that. So appreciate it, Sean. And two, thanks for joining in. And thank you for the super chat. He says, good evening. Kendrick just roasted Drake and left him in the dust. It's time for Matt to take his shots. Biggest diss right now would be Doug getting his hands on the bullet. Oh man. Yeah, that sounds painful just even hearing that. Thankfully, I don't think Doug has any interest in never doing anything like that. But yeah, I don't keep up on all the beef that's been going on there and pop culture and all that. But yeah, thanks for joining in, Sue. And let me see. Delta Mood, thank you so much for a super chat as well. They say on Miata Net said because of Euro 7 regulations targeting and tampering with emissions, ability to tune 24 Miatas will be a hard no. What do you think? Deciding between 23 and 24. Maybe for the European ones, they locked down the ECU. I don't know if ND3 Miata has a locked ECU or not. That's totally possible. I know, 24 Mustangs, that's a problem for them as well because they're locked down. Golf R had that problem. I don't know if they cracked the Golf R ECU yet or not, but I know that was another one. C8 Corvette's the same way, though. I think someone cracked that now, but they were locked down for a long time. If you're gonna do mods, I'd say, yeah, probably just get a 23 anyway, unless you really, really want the new screen and stuff. But, ND2 is amazing. I'm going to be hopefully getting a 24 Miata here to review in the next couple of months. I like the improvements to it, but if I had an ND2, I wouldn't be running out and, trading it in for an ND3, I don't think. So, yeah, especially if there's any kind of deals to be had or just easier availability compared to the 24s and stuff. Because it's all, I think it's all going to drive the same. It sounds like there might be tiny little tweaks. Maybe I'll be surprised when I do my review and I'll be like, holy crap, this is amazing. But from what I know about it, I really doubt that there's going to be anything that's worth paying more for a 24. And especially if you want to mod and there's that, up in the air thing with the tuning, then yeah, just get a 23 and call it a day, I'd say, honestly. And two, thank you for the super chat again. He says, actually, Doug plus Bullet equals free publicity. Yeah, I guess if he actually mentioned that it's my car, that would be publicity. But yeah, honestly, I think, when YouTube shows me what my viewers watch, it shows me, just as a general, not like specific per person, but it says generally, here's what your audience likes. And there's a lot of Doug stuff in there, so I think we have a lot of overlap. I'm sure most of you are aware of Doug, and most people that watch, well, I wouldn't say most, but a lot of people that watch Doug are probably aware of me and just choose not to watch me. Yeah, it'd be free publicity, I suppose, is always good, as long as it's not dragging me through the dirt too much. But thanks too for the super chat again. And getting back to the member questions here. Let me see. I'm gonna drink here really quick. So Zachary says, this weekend YouTube decided I needed to see basically every DirectX review on your channel. It was a fun throwback. Well, thanks for bothering to watch them. Yeah, I did a lot back then. Obviously, that was the name, and that was what everyone was excited about, and so it was just it made sense to do basically every single WRX possible I get my hands on, and yeah, fun times. And Good Stick says, what would you like to see for the NE Miata if it comes out? Um, I don't. It's hard to say because honestly, Miata is basically perfect. And if you would have asked me a few months ago, I would have said put the new Mazda infotainment system in, and they just did that with ND3. I don't think it needs more power. I think ND2 solved the power thing for me 100%. That motor is amazing and perfect for that car. So, I mean, I don't see because some people have been really saying they want to see the inline six motor in it. But that would change the character of the car in Mazda. I don't think they would ever do that anyway. I'd love to see that in a new thing. Like Mazda can just do a new, bring out a new name and a new sports car and start a new tradition or a new legacy with something else. So honestly, I think the best thing they can do for any Miata is keep it as close to ND2, as they can. I'd say the only little thing that would be cool to see is from a styling standpoint, I'd love to see them try and bring back some form of pop-up headlights like we saw with the Ferrari Daytona SP3, where it has like eyelids that kind of slide backwards. That way it's not like pop-up headlights, because I think that's now a pedestrian risk kind of thing that probably wouldn't be legal anymore. But if you have like a slide away thing or some kind of way to pay homage to the pop-up headlights, I think that could be fun. But otherwise, just applying the new beautiful Mazda styling language to those vehicles, and maybe making the interior a tiny bit nicer as long as it didn't increase the weight. But I'd say just keep it as close to current as possible, and I think that's kind of the goal. It seems for them is keeping it as light as possible, as simple as possible, as long as they possibly can. So I think that's kind of what myself and what Mazda and what basically most people I think are hoping for. People love the Miata because it's the Miata. If it becomes something different with a straight six or some other crazy, changes, I think it's just gonna not be a Miata anymore and lose some of its appeal. Let me see. So Ace says, what about weekly updates chopped up into shorts? That's something that I'm also considering if it's a really short little update of, like, oh, this car came out, but it's the same as last year, just has new headlights and taillights, the end. Something like that would be great for, a short kind of thing. But with YouTube, they really stick to just like 60 seconds is your limit. And some of the things I cover, if you see how long, some of those segments are for the weekly update, they're multiple minutes. Sure, I could try and condense that down. But, again, the money is still in longer stuff. So even if it's a 4-minute video or something, I'd rather do that as a horizontal thing than a short. So I think, if I am going to do a new channel and do like the weekly updates separately, anything that's under a minute, throw it into a short. But if it's over a minute, make it a long form horizontal thing, get the better ad rates there and just do that. It's going to kind of be a mix, I think, is my plan potentially. Again, if I, actually make that leap here, I'm going to see, again, with the new momentum here that we got on the channel, if I can kind of carry that into the weekly updates and leave everything the way it is. Cause I know a lot of you really like, sitting down on a Friday night, just clicking one video and letting it play through and that's it, versus having, if I had the multiple videos, I'd have it in a playlist. So it still should hopefully autoplay from one to the next. But again, just hopping from one video to the next and stuff, I know is annoying. So like, that's why I really want to just keep everything the same. I just feel like I probably just can't keep doing that, but we'll see. But I know that's one thing, I've mentioned the idea of doing just little standalone videos in the past. I know a lot of people weren't super excited about that because you like the rundown at the end of the week in one video, but we'll see how things play out. I see Zachary says doing one story at a time allows you to do YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikToks with the same video. That's true as well. I mean, sometimes the platforms don't love, like sometimes they can pick up on repurposed stuff and they won't like block it, but they can kind of just like suppress it a little bit. So, I don't know. I would maybe repurpose some of them for Instagram. I honestly don't really care about Instagram though at this point. It's never really grown much for me, and it just, again, it doesn't pay anymore. For a while there, they were doing, a little bit of money on the Instagram reels, but it was still wasn't much. It was like I made like $100 a month off the reels, and I'm like, all right, whatever. I guess it's worth posting a few of these little, videos that are low effort for $100 a month, and that's it. But now it's like not even that. So it's like, don't care anymore. That's why I just like, it would be easy if I'm just literally downloading and re-uploading. But yeah, I mean, I'd maybe do it for Instagram, but that's about it. And the trend car guy says maybe you can do quick reviews of whatever test car you have and make it a short. Yeah, it's really tough, seeing the other people out there that do short form reviews. I struggle personally, and I was just talking with someone else about this recently too. Like I struggle to, I'm struggling to find a way to package that is truly helpful, like as far as helping you decide on a car. Because like, sure, I can point out every cup holder in the vehicle, and that might give some people some good info that they're like, oh, okay, well, that's helpful. But like, trying to do a good rundown in 60 seconds, it's not me. I'm very, as you know, very detail oriented, very, thorough with my videos and stuff. And so I feel like I wouldn't be doing a car justice if I was like, it's got this much horsepower, it's got this engine, it drives great, and the interior is cool. The end. Like, yes, it's a review, I suppose, but to me, can you give a lot of great insight in a minute? I don't really think you can, even if it's quick bullet points, it handles great, it gets crappy gas mileage, it's expensive or whatever. Like you can do that, I guess, very quickly, but it's all just going to feel rushed and just like, I don't know. I still feel like reviews are best done in a long form kind of format. Yeah. So trust me, I've given it a lot of thought. It's something I'm like, how do I do something that isn't, what Forrest and those guys do something different on, TikTok or something like that. But it's just, it's something I can't find a way to do it that would make me happy of, just without just doing some quick little sellout thing that's a copycat of everything else out there, So if I can find something that I'm excited about doing, then I maybe will try. But again, it would be on YouTube Shorts almost exclusively because that's the only thing that I care about if I'm going to do shorts. But Ace says the LS Swap Miata was awesome. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, it's a fun one for sure. That was a wild car. Little Rockstar RS says, hey, man, hope you've been having an awesome weekend. Happy Mother's Day to Beth. Congrats on your success on the latest Miata video. So happy for you. I'll always support you. I appreciate it, Blaze. Thanks so much again for all the support that you give as well. It means a lot, and it's always great to see your username pop up there. And yeah, we had a great weekend as well. Hope you had a good weekend too. And Cam Jam says, I think a good car to review for your audience would be an Acura ILX. I've been wanting to get an ILX so badly. Harrison Auto Sales, which is the main used place I work with, they haven't gotten one in that I've seen in a long time. I even begged Acura for one back the past 5 or more years here, whenever they were actually new. They just never really had them in the press fleet. They never really had interest in like marketing the car. It was just like a whole, I so many emails being like, hey, like anybody I can get an ILX, and like just begging and pleading for one, and like never got my hands on one. I really want to do it. The second that an ILX pops up somewhere I can review, absolutely, I'm there. I'm going to definitely go for it. I'd love to review one. I did do the very first model year of it, I think 2013. And that was when it was very underpowered, very underwhelming. And that was like my early days of reviewing. So not a great video either, in my opinion, just based on my, current quality and stuff. But yeah, I definitely want to do another ILX review for sure. Kyle says, hey everyone, happy Mother's Day to all the moms. Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by, Kyle. And Brian says, I saw a Dodge Charger Hellcat on the street the other day, and the Supercharger sounds amazing. Yeah, they are. It's always good to hear a Hellcat for sure. And Luke says, I rode my friend's hybrid car last week. I was pretty pleased with it. I liked how we could just sit there and talk, and it would be in electric mode, not burning gas, but we could still use heat and AC. Yeah, I think hybrids make a lot of sense. It's kind of one of those things, I think, in the future that like people are going to be like, why did you leave your engine running when you were going down a hill or anytime you didn't need the engine on? Like, unless you're actively accelerating or climbing a hill or things like that, like, why is the engine on? I mean, obviously, as an enthusiast, yeah, you get the overrun, you get crackles and pops and engine braking and, stuff like that. But, if you could absorb all that energy that's being wasted and put it back through the regen braking and stuff, it just makes sense. Like, and this is why I think everything's going to be going towards hybrid, because it's just like, why throw away energy that you can, be recapturing? It just makes a ton of sense. So I think hybrids are great, and hopefully we get more interesting hybrids. I'm really hoping to see hybrids that have better transmission pairings, because they're all just mostly hooked up to eCVTs and stuff, which is fine. There's some that are better than others, but I'd love to see more hybrids hooked up to real automatics or manuals, like Honda CRZ back in the day. I'd love to see, like, if hybrid's going to be the thing going forward, great, sounds good to me. But like, let's hook them up to some more interesting transmissions. That's the only thing I'd like to, see happen, I think, with hybrids. Otherwise, I mean, I know that's less efficient most of the time, but that's the one thing that I think is sometimes lacking, is just the transmission department. And Austin says, hey, Matt, I got my Fiat 500 Abarth 2017 with only 8,000 miles on it. Had to go out of state to find one with the options I wanted. Well, good for you for going out of state, hunting it down, not just settling for something that was around the corner or something. That's awesome. Congrats. And wow, that's a rare find. That the previous owner must have really loved and babied that thing. I mean, 8,000 miles. I felt bad for only having 20 on the bullet. So 8,000 for 2017 is impressive. So I hope you enjoy it. I mean, I'm sure you're already enjoying the exhaust and note and all that, but congrats on the new car. Hope it treats you well, and hope you have a blast with it. And Zachary says, I fill up with Shell because they support you. I appreciate that. They're, I mean, gas companies all, have their problematic components and stuff, especially when we see super high gas prices, every summer and stuff. It, makes you not want to enjoy a gas company, but I mean, I think Shell does some really cool stuff. And I'm going to hopefully be posting here relatively soon. I did something with Shell recently that I haven't posted about, outside of, if you follow me on Instagram stories, I did a quick little story of being in Italy. I'm going to do more stuff on that, more content on that here relatively soon. But they gave me a really, really cool opportunity recently. So stay tuned for that. And Wheatman says, good evening, Matt. I'm interested in your thoughts on the Audi SQ5 versus the Q8 with the turbo 3-liter engine in both SUVs. So I don't think I've done gas Q8 outside of the RS Q8. I haven't done it with the 3-liter. I don't think. I've never done a regular Q8. So SQ5 is great. I haven't even done an SQ5 in a long time. The last SQ5 I did was when they first came out, I think. And back then the throttle delay was so bad, the lag was so bad, it made me so annoyed. It was like, you can watch my SQ5 review, and I complain about it plenty. Don't love that. If that's been fixed in recent years, then by all means, I think it's great. The S4 is great, which I think has that same motor, right? So I really enjoyed the S4 I just reviewed, a couple of months ago. And Q8 is, I mean, really nice, super smooth. I mean, it's on the same platform as the Integra, the Urus, like that's all the same platform. So if you, are okay with a bigger feeling car, a heavier feeling car, Q8, if they're comparable price-wise or something, like I would absolutely say go for the Q8. It's a far more luxurious vehicle than the SQ5. I mean, not like an SQ5 is bad by any means, but Q8 is like, we're talking like really refined, like double pane windows, I think, on most of them, like really pretty high-end stuff. So if it were me picking between the two, even without driving it, I'd probably say Q8, just because, again, RS Q8 was so impressive from just the shell of the vehicle, even without the engine being in a part of the consideration. Q8's a really nice car. So I'd probably go Q8 if it's between those two. But again, if you want something that's a little sportier handling, a little bit lighter, all that, SQ5 could have its, place as well. Let me see. Good success. We need more affordable convertibles like the Miata. I agree. And I see. Sorry, Kyle. I missed. Thanks so much for gifting 5 memberships, Kyle. I really appreciate it. Happy to see everyone was able to grab those there. And the two, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, Matt and shorts will never work. 2 reasons. one, Matt rants too much. Two, we learned from the Germans not to fight two-front war. Dog and force is not a good fight, even if it's a friendly one. Yeah. It's there's, again, everyone's carved out their niche and stuff, and Force does a great job. He's got a huge following, even Pushing Pistons on Instagram, who I think is also on TikTok as well. I was able to hang out with him a lot in the past month here. Got to know him a lot better, and he's an awesome guy as well. And so I think they do a really good job, and I love what they do. I watch their stuff, but again, just me doing a copycat of that, I don't think it would be beneficial. And I can't think of anything better to do than that kind of a format. So that's why I just kind of happy to sit on the sidelines there. And I also do rant too much, although that'd probably be great, because I feel like half the time I hear about TikToks or someone sends me a TikTok, it's like some fear-mongering thing or some like a warning or some crazy thing like that. So maybe me ranting or going off with hot takes would be great for TikTok and Reels or something. I don't know. And Two says, I think again, Two, for another super chat, he says the basement is not equipped even with Kyle's newly acquired skills from Raid Shadow Legends. Yeah, not a fight I'm looking to pick there anyway. And Hugo, thank you so much for a super chat as well. I appreciate the little emoji there. And if you have any follow-up questions, Hugo, I'll keep an eye out for that as well. But thanks for stopping by and for the support as well. And getting back to the other member questions here. Austin says, can't drive it yet because the dealer overfilled with oil before they shipped it. Luckily, I only drove a few miles from the pickup location before I noticed smoke. Man, that's the kind of stuff. It's so annoying. It's like, is it that hard? Like, that's a really dumb mistake, I think. Read the right spec in the owner's manual and put in the right amount. It's anyway, I'm sorry I got off to a bad start there for you, but hopefully things get better soon. And Truck and Car Guy says, just out of curiosity, what happened to the member of the week, member car of the week thing? So I think Pete Mitchell, there's one last vehicle I didn't post that he has, but no one sent me any new stuff. So I don't have anyone's cars to post. That's why that ended. Otherwise I'd keep it going. I'm happy to keep it going. So if you would like your car to be featured as member car of the week, send me an email. And be more than happy, or you can send me a DM on Instagram, whatever works, Facebook message, and I can post your car as member car of the week if you'd like. But yeah, just can only do that as long as I have new cars to post. And Zachary says, my wife calls the GRD6 the Grady 6 now. Oh man, so I guess Beth is spreading out to other people. So yeah, I'm sure. I don't know if Toyota would be happy or sad about that. But the Grady 6, I mean, it just makes sense. I'm glad that Beth has pointed that out for everyone's amusement now. And if your wife came to that independently, because we were talking about that last week, but if your wife came to that on her own, then that's kind of funny. Her and Beth must think alike for sure. And Brian says, hey Matt, who does your video shots of you driving on the street with a chase car? Is that your wife? So with the chase car thing there on the street, that is Beth driving the Mach-E most of the time, and my sister actually having the camera perched there right on the windowsill in the passenger seat, and while I drive, of course. So it's a family affair doing that. And so my sister comes over once a week, bless her heart, and does the rolling shots, we call them there. Yeah, so it's a fun excuse to see my sister on a regular basis as well. And yeah, so it's always fun to do. Although our daughter doesn't love, she's usually in the Mach-E just riding along with us. She's starting to like be over it. She was kind of into it for a little while. We have a little camera for her, and she was taking pictures and doing her own rolling shots, which is really cute. But then she's kind of, I think, over it most of the time these days. So we might be having to switch up how we do those in the future, but it's always fun. Ace says the ND2 ECU was locked for years, but they cracked it. Interesting. I didn't know that one was locked. I never heard about that. I learned something new tonight. Thanks, Ace. Glad they cracked it. I guess they'll crack it again then, so that's good to know. Thanks for the info. And Daniel says, have you considered renting a room to a friend or someone in your family for a little extra income? We have some extra space that we could. We don't really have anyone in the family that needs it. And not looking to, especially with what I do and stuff, it's not something I'd be looking to rent out rooms or anything. So I mean, it's something that probably works great for a lot of other people, but for us, we like the privacy and not having to worry, and having all the garage space, all the driveway space, and especially with our daughter, we don't want to have other people coming and going and all that kind of stuff. So we just keeping it for ourselves for now. And the Good Stick says, as a car enthusiast company like Mazda, how would they adapt to the self-driving era? I mean, I don't think that we realistically have to worry about the self-driving era. I don't think it's going to happen for a long time, if ever. The technology could get there, fairly soon. But again, who's going to be liable? I think I talked about this in a week or two ago in the live stream. Is just that, that's the problem. Is if the car crashes, who's paying for that? Or worse, what if they injure someone or hurt someone? Who's liable there? If you always put it on the driver, then you always got to have a steering wheel, and you always got to have like the disclaimer of like, you got to be paying attention, you have to be ready to take over. Then it's not really full self-driving, and if you are going to say the driver has nothing to do with this anymore, this is fully self-driving, then all that legal stuff goes on the car company. Are they going to want to do that? I don't think so, unless it is 110% foolproof, perfected. Which, I mean, look at any modern technology. Is anything 110% or 100%? No. Especially when you're talking about moving vehicles that have to compensate for weather, they have to compensate for crazy humans doing crazy things, whether you're talking about pedestrians or drivers or combination of, everything. There's just too much there. I think that, again, if there was a way, maybe there could be some legal loophole where they could say, oh, this is full self-driving. And, but you're going to have a steering wheel backup and stuff like that. Again, if you don't have that, then companies are just going to be, or people are going to be immediately suing car companies saying, this car crashed into me, ow, my neck hurts. And that the whole kind of thing, I mean, it's going to be that, ambulance chaser kind of mentality the second that drivers don't have responsibility for that anymore. And so I just think that's why you don't have to worry about that. But I think, in some crazy world where if that, somehow does end up being worked out in the future, I think that a company like Mazda could just, focus on still giving you a very good driving experience as far as like the way, if we ever get to that kind of point, like what would I do? Because if it's full self-driving, like, well, what am I reviewing anymore? I would be reviewing how well it does its thing. And so it would be, does this handle, does it, hit the apexes better than maybe another full self-driving system that doesn't hit apexes quite as well? Or, just how's the ride quality? How's the luxury? How are, all those other components? You can still have unique tunings, for the suspension and stuff to give you different feels. There's those types of things they could use to, differentiate themselves in the future. But again, I really don't think we have to worry about that for a long time. It's an easy clickbait story that everyone likes talking about and stuff, but self-driving, real self-driving is, I don't think, ever going to happen, at least not in our lifetimes. It's again, the legal thing is the holdup for me. And Jorge, thank you so much for stopping by. His wife says, you're doing one of these on Mother's Day. Be careful with that, or the wife will make sure that she will soon be celebrating single Mother's Day. Yeah, I know. It was kind of, I announced it in the weekly update. I was going to do it on Sunday, and I was like, oh, wait, maybe that's not the best, from a viewership standpoint and all that as well. I don't want to take away from anyone else's, moms or anything like that. So please feel free to, not watch, obviously, if there has to be some kind of decision made there. But I think a lot of people, get all their stuff done, earlier in the day, and they're kind of, just kind of getting ready for the week here, and they're able to still hang. So yeah, Beth was cool about having it be, tonight. We, spent some time last night, watching TV and hanging out and all that. And, had a great day today. And so, yeah, but I know I was thinking about, maybe like switching it up or something, but, I just wanted to keep these going. And Ace says, perhaps with Instagram and YouTube Shorts, you don't focus on them as revenue streams, but ticklers for the main channel to drive new viewers to your longer content. Yeah, and that's, that's the way that most people kind of approach that, but, it just seems like from what I've seen, there isn't a huge correlation. If you plug a video in a short, yeah, you might get a little bit of spillover, but is it going to be worth, that effort? It doesn't seem like it usually is. I mean, even from your own experience, any of you who do watch short form stuff, whenever you're going through your feed and someone's videos pops up and says, "Hey, go to my page for the full thing." Like, unless it's some super insane story that you have to like go to part 2, part 3, whatever. Outside of something like that, like how often do you stop watching from the feed, go and watch a long form video as a result of that? Like, I feel like there's not very much of that that actually happens. I haven't seen it. Maybe there is a lot and I'm just out of the loop on that, but it just doesn't seem like that's a very common thing. And so again, just being a realist, it's like, look, how many people want to stop their scrolling and sit down and just sit for 20 minutes and watch a video? Like, again, I'd like to think that that happens and that that could be a driver of growth, but again, everyone I've talked to that does it, like, it doesn't really help the views on their main stuff. Sometimes it actually hurts the views on their main channel. It's just that, yeah, my subscribers have grown and I got huge views. If you look at my, on Social Blade or something, you say, "Hey, how many views does this channel get this month?" It's like, wow, they got a ton of views now, but it's all just worthless stuff. It's, again, subscribers that don't want to watch long form stuff, views that are 3 seconds long, that don't earn any money, that don't help anything. It just kind of numbers just to have as bragging things, and that's it. And sales pitches, that's all they're good for, honestly. So that's really the holdup there. What I've been seeing is I have been hearing that there's a growing movement of people that are tired of the scrolling on shorts and stuff. They want to just sit down. And this is why even TikTok's starting to do longer videos, because there's just people that are just like, I don't want to have to look for something new every 10 seconds. I want to just like sit down, click something, and then relax. And I think that hopefully long form will start to become popular more and more again. And, YouTube stuff. I mean, YouTube's saying a lot more people are watching on TV now because everyone's so tired of streaming services and all that. And they're like, you know what? If I can find something to burn 30 minutes in front of my TV on that's free, that I don't have to pay for a subscription thing, I can just watch something that is entertaining enough for 30 minutes that's free on TV on YouTube. I mean, YouTube is saying they're seeing a huge explosion in TV viewership. So that's something they're really telling us as creators, like, watch your videos on TV. How do they look? How does your channel look on a TV setup when you're, viewing it from a TV? Give TV viewers a good experience. That's really something they're seeing growing a lot. So like, that's the kind of stuff I'm like, okay, well, cool. I'll look into that and I'll try to optimize for that kind of stuff, because that's, obviously better ad rates, all that kind of stuff as well. Plus it's a growing segment, and trying to, instead of maybe catch up and I'm already behind the ball in shorts, maybe just like, all right, I missed that one. Let's try and catch the next fly ball, and, and just focus on that instead. And so I think trying to, make sure that everything's good for TV is going to be my focus this year. It's part of why we'll see how much, the views keep growing. If I have a little bit of extra money here with all the ad revenue, I may try and fully convert everything over to 4K finally, again, because of wanting to do that, better TV experience. I already do the weekly updates in 4K, but my camera is not the best for doing the reviews in 4K because it's lower frame rate and it kind of crops the frame and stuff. So I may try and go full 4K this year for everything. In the past, it's always been like, why bother? Because the majority of my views come from people watching on phones, where you will never be able to truly appreciate a 4K video, regardless of, what it might seem like. Most of the time you're not going to be able to notice. So that's why I was like, why bother, aside from, again, the marketing thing of like, ooh, this is in 4K, even if you're not actually watching it in 4K. But, if this TV thing is truly growing really fast, then 4K is going to be really important. And so that's kind of me trying to be like, all right, let's, look ahead of the curve here. And that's going to be definitely something I want to make sure that I, cover well. So that's kind of the next thing there to focus on. But Cam Jam says, my sister is looking at cars, needs an auto, has adequate power, open to use, but not older than around 2018, once lifted like a crossover, under or around 20 to 25 grand, also reliable. I mean, my favorite would be like a Mazda CX-30. I really love the CX-30. That's kind of my go-to pick for anyone that's looking at stuff that's, as long as that they don't need a ton of space, because it's not a lot of space in that. but it's got the best horsepower in the segment, the nicest interior in the segment. And as long as it's enough room in that, CX-30 all day. That's my pick. Final answer on that one. Outside of that, everything else is just going to be, again, a little underpowered. If they're okay with, I don't know what adequate power is to them, to your sister, but I really like the Honda HR-V. This new generation is really nice. You can probably get a lightly used one of those for, that price range for sure. And the HR-V interior is really nice, and it's got a lot more space than the CX-30. So that's probably my second runner-up. Crosstreks are hard to argue with as well. Excuse me, they're fine. Just not going to run forever compared to the Honda and the Mazda and stuff. Toyota Corolla Cross, again, not a ton of power, but a lot of space, a solid little car that will run forever. It's, always easy for me to recommend Toyotas because they're always going to be pretty reliable cars and give people a pretty good experience. So it's always a pretty safe recommendation. No one's going to come back at you and say, hey, that car is crap, because most of the time they're going to be fine, if they're in a Toyota. But, so I'd say those are probably my top picks in that kind of a segment. If they want something larger, you can get like a used, RAV4, CRV. I'd probably go RAV4 over CRV though, because CRV's, got the turbo motor and, just not quite as good from an interior standpoint and stuff. My sister-in-law has a base, like bare bones 2019 RAV4. She loves it. It's been great to her. And she actually was leasing it and bought out the lease at the end of it because she just liked it so much. So those are always my favorites. CX-5 though is also fantastic. I think CX-5 is my personal favorite as far as compact SUVs goes. Great driving dynamics, the best driving dynamics of the segment. As long as you're okay with the controller wheel, it's just the nicest interior, plenty of space. If I needed like an affordable crossover, I just go get a CX-5 personally. They're just great. So those are my top, for subcompact, compact SUV segments. I'm guessing it's one of those is what she's interested in. So hopefully that helps. And again, feel free to send me a message, or I think if you're in the Discord, you can, also chat with me in there some more. I'm more than happy to drill down exactly, what might be the best pick for her. And Zachary says, I really appreciated the somewhat recent used Acura TLX video. I feel like Sophion is the only one with ILX content on his channel. Yeah, I think he did do one a while back there. Yeah, the used TLX one was great. I like doing the TL as well. I'm really looking for a TSX. That's another one I really want to do. That's, I think, still really popular. We get a lot of views still. But again, when's the last time you saw a TSX video? So I really want to do one of those if I can hunt that down too. Just again, I'm at the mercy of people trading them in and them popping up in the used car market there. But yeah, I'm glad you liked the TLX video, though, Zach. It's that was a cool one to revisit some of those older cars. And Brian says, hey, Matt, with your detailing expertise, I'd suggest getting paid to do some detailing, video the process before and after results. I think that would be entertaining and related to your channel. Yeah, I'm just very rusty with my detailing. I think most of you think I'm a way better detailer than I probably am. I know how to work a buffer without, so I'm not burning paint and stuff, but, I haven't even done an actual detail, and I don't even have a water line in my current garage. So that's something I need to add if I was ever going to even do car wash videos. That's why I never did a car wash video on the Bullet or anything like that. Because the water pressure is too low. I always got to go to the spray it off kind of place with it, the power washer thing. I've always just done that for washing cars the past few years here, which I really miss doing a hand wash. I love doing that. It's just haven't wanted to spend the money to put in a water line in the garage there. But so yeah, it'd be fun. Just again, the time is the problem with that. If I were to spend a few days detailing someone's car, then I just wouldn't have any car reviews that week. Like, it's just like something's got to give. So it's like if I chose to do that, then it's just like, all right, well, I'm not doing any videos this week because I'm spending 3 days detailing this car, and it takes me 2 days to do every car review I do. It takes me 2 days to do the weekly update. It's just, I have, again, no spare time. If it's an interesting idea, if someone wanted to pay me a bunch of money to do a detail on it, and I could, double dip by also getting ad revenue off of it, that would be great. But yeah, it would be a fun learning process of maybe like me reteaching myself how to detail and making probably plenty of mistakes and things like that along the way. if I wanted to transition away from the car reviews. It's just that I love doing the car reviews. That's why I know that it's probably not the best to like, to be in my comfort zone of just doing the same thing over and over again. But like, it's just, yeah, it's tough because if I start doing like, people want me to do project cars again or doing, the detail stuff. Like if I start doing that kind of stuff and don't do reviews as much anymore, then it's something I'm less passionate about. I'm not passionate about detailing. Like it's fun seeing the car all shined up after all the work. But I mean, when I was a detailer, like the part I enjoyed about detailing cars was driving them afterwards and like getting to be around cool cars that I otherwise wouldn't be around. But like I didn't enjoy, sweating my butt off in the back of an Audi A4 while I'm wiping the rear window whenever it's 90 degrees in the shop and I'm like, dang it, I can't get that streak out. Like to me, it wasn't a fun thing. Buffing can be a little bit gratifying, but like, it's just not something I enjoy. So again, if I'm like, you know what, no one cares about my opinions on cars anymore, I'll just quit doing car reviews. Like then, maybe pivoting into something like that is worth a last Hail Mary for the channel or something. But it's just not something that really excites me to be completely honest. It's a good idea for sure for someone else, I think, more so than for me, because yeah, I'm just not an expert, unfortunately. I don't know half the products out there anymore. I'm sure there's been much better processes and buffing pads and all kinds of new stuff that I'm completely unaware of at this point that I'd have to learn a lot before I even try to act like I had any kind of expertise these days. And Good Stick says, why did Acura milk the ILX for so long? They got discontinued when the 10th gen Civic was on its way out. I don't know why the ILX. Yeah, it's kind of surprising it stuck around as long as it did. But yeah, I think it was just like good enough for them, and they just didn't maybe take that part of the market that seriously back then. And I think with Integra, that's really like been a light bulb moment for them of like, wow, like people actually buy a ton of these things. I don't know about you guys. Some of you have said you never see Integras around, but it seems like every single day I see at least one Integra around here, and like different ones. It's not like it's the same person all the time. Like it's like I see every color of the rainbow Integras like on the daily now, and I'm really happy to see it. It's so gratifying because so many people were like, no one's gonna buy this, like these suck. Like everyone was so mad when that car came out. I'm like, it makes sense. That's what they did with the last Integra. It's gonna sell. And at least around here, Acura was 100% right. It is still a really big hit. Sorry, I missed a bunch of the super chats and stuff that came in here. So, Chad, thank you so much for joining the club here. I really appreciate it. I'll keep an eye out for any of your member questions as well. And Reno, thank you so much for the very generous super chat. I really appreciate it. He says, hey, Matt, have you thought of doing a channel for the Junkyard walkthroughs and another for the news, but in a podcast format? Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad idea to do the Junkyard walkthroughs as a separate channel because I've tried, I tried doing one last year and I've done them in the past. I've tried to do a couple. They never really took off on this channel, but I mean, that's a good point. Maybe it's just people on this channel are interested in newer stuff and drivable stuff. And then maybe just doing a whole separate thing of Matt's Junkyard finds or something, could be like a better thing to do as a separate thing. I'd love to hear any feedback anyone else has about that. And as far as the news, but in a podcast format, I think this is another area where YouTube is really kind of expanding. They're seeing a huge explosion in their podcast popularity and people wanting video connected to a podcast. And so a lot of traditional audio podcasts are now being like, crap, like how do we add video to this? Because for some, it's easy if it's just like two people talking or something. But if it's like crime murder mystery thing or something, it's like, okay, well, if we add visuals to this, it's essentially going to become a full-blown like 2020 documentary or something, and then it's like then we're just producing a full-blown TV show at this point. So it kind of gets rid of the perks of a podcast of being low production effort. But so as far as me doing podcasts, I think that YouTube really pushing into the podcast realm. I think the weekly updates are already a perfect podcast. It's already me just going through a rundown that's very easy to listen to, and you don't have to watch it if you don't care about the visuals of what I'm talking about with the cars or whatever. And so, what a lot of people I know have said in the past they do is just, if you have YouTube Premium, with YouTube Premium, you can just, listen to the audio from a video, and a lot of people just do that, or they just put the video on, pop an ear pod in, and, don't watch it or whatever, and just have it playing in the background. But as far as, doing it as an audio thing, I just wouldn't be worried about that cannibalizing views on YouTube. And again, it's a little bit of extra work. Obviously, it's not that hard if I'm just ripping the audio and uploading it to, all the podcast apps or whatever. But it's just like, there's no way to monetize that. So, if I'm like, hey guys, there's a podcast version, I don't know how many of you would be interested in that, but then all of a sudden, all of those people then no longer see an ad, and then the YouTube views tank on the weekly updates even more. And then again, I'm working for free, posting podcasts that, maybe someday it would grow on the podcast platform to a huge level where I could then have, Raid Shadow Legends sponsor every weekly update or something. I don't know. But again, like, these are risks that, especially podcasts are so oversaturated that trying to get sponsors is really a grind. I know for a lot of podcast people, like, just, pitching for sponsorships is like, half of the job. And again, it's something I don't have time to be pitching everyone on earth for a sponsorship for a podcast. So if YouTube's trying to push into that with the ad revenue that's, associated with that, and they're really trying to push that, then I'm just like hoping to ride that train. And I'm hoping that YouTube does the right thing to maybe make some of those podcast type videos audio only that you can listen to without having to have YouTube Premium. And then, problem solved. You just click on the YouTube video, there's still an ad there. I still get paid. You still get to watch or listen to the podcast, and then it's the same kind of thing, hopefully, without any extra work on my part, without having to forfeit views and earnings and stuff like that. So that's kind of, my thinking with that is, again, just really trying to follow what YouTube's doing. They're pushing big in TV, pushing big in the podcasts. And so I think I'm really poised, and set up to hopefully, capitalize on both of those really well. We will see. But if you notice, I've been classifying I don't know if this even is visible, but on YouTube in the playlist for the weekly updates, that is classified as a podcast playlist. So you can go through it like a podcast series, and, here's this week's news, here's last week's news, and go through it the same exact way. So I kind of think of it as a podcast already, just not on Spotify or Apple or whatever, but same kind of thing. So hopefully that works for some of you. I know it's probably not ideal. But again, just trying to analyze things from a time standpoint and from an earnings standpoint. Like, I'm just, again, I think to me that's the best way forward, but again, I'm always open to more opinions. I don't want to act like I've got it all figured out, or like I'm, stubborn and I don't want to do anything different. I'm open to whatever is going to work. It just, again, I've tried to, figure all this stuff out, and I can't find a way forward for a podcast to be appealing, and actually make sense, for me, outside of, again, the YouTube thing. And Jorge says it takes 2 days to detail a car. I mean, I guess it depends on what level of detailing you're doing. If you're talking about a quick, wash, vac, quick buff kind of thing, obviously that wouldn't take 2 days. But I mean, there's a lot of cars that I did, even some of the Porsches and stuff back when I was detailing, where it was like a 2 day thing of, because if you're really doing it well, I mean, you're clay barring, you're, stripping the paint down, you're prepping everything. And then, you work on the paint. That sometimes can take hours to, do multiple coats, and then you're adding other stuff onto it, and then, doing everything else. I mean, I'd say for me to do a good detail would be, 2 days. I mean, there's some shops obviously that are, again, have pros that, have other ways of making it quicker and stuff. But I think even with Blackout, whenever I took my car in there, just to do the prep that they had to do for the ceramic coating, they got to take the wheels off, and they have to, do an intense deep clean on those, because they, ceramic coat the barrel of the wheels and the spokes. And I mean, those things take time, and then you got to let stuff cure. Sometimes you got to let some of these, things sit on the car for a while, and then you buff them off, where there's a curing process there and things like that. So there's, a bunch of stuff. I mean, again, I'm no expert. I'd have to, look into a lot of the stuff more, but it's, if you're doing a deep, kind of detail, then usually that kind of stuff could be a multi-day job. I think some people spend even longer than 2 days. And I see also Jason said, I remember you recommended Adams stuff to me 3 years ago, and I've used it ever since. It's been great stuff. Yeah, Adams polishes, I mean, that still is my go-to, quick spray wax, if I'm ever at a car show or something, which is, I mean, really rare these days. But if I'm back in the day with the bullet and stuff, and I was polishing it up, before I was showing it or something, I just quick spray the Atom stuff. Smells really good, works really well. I've always, been happy with their stuff. Not sponsored, but yeah, their stuff's pretty good. I'm glad it's been a good recommendation for you, Jason. And Deidre, thank you so much for the super chat as well. He says, hi, Matt. I finally got my 2024 Type R a few weeks ago. Congrats. That's awesome. I'm still in the break-in period, so I haven't pushed it, but so far so good. That's great. Congrats on getting one. Hopefully you got a good deal on it, and hopefully it wasn't too much trouble, but that's awesome. I'm so happy for you. Such an epic car. I'm sure you're already loving it, and you'll just love it even more once you can really push a little bit more. So that's awesome. Congrats. Glad to see people are still buying those and the hype hasn't died down and people still appreciate them. Because I know so many people got burned out with GR Corolla and Type R and stuff with all the markups when they first came out. And so seeing that there's still consistent interest in those is great, and glad to see that people are still buying them up because they are totally worth owning for sure. Frosty, thank you so much for a super chat. It says, Matt, an interesting video idea is showing who is offering the best financing on vehicles. Could be added to weekly updates or the monthly or a monthly video. Yeah, that could be. I mean, I've always been interested in those kinds of videos. Like I was saying earlier with the Ioniq 6 deals, like that could be something, short form wise, being like deal alert. Cause you see, like, I mean, even Beth's always, on reels and stuff popping up with these people doing these Amazon shopping lists and all that stuff. Doing it's just the thing is a lot of that stuff, they can monetize, with affiliate links and stuff, whereas I can't really do that, with financing stuff. But even if it's just, like something quick and easy, and I'm like, wow, isn't this a crazy deal? And it's kind of a fun, quick little low effort thing of like me, just doing the fake green screen effect with like a picture of a car behind me or something. And that's it. Like if it takes me 10 minutes to do, and it's something like that could build, the fan base a little bit, like I'd be fine with doing something like that. But yeah, that could be, I mean, that's something that, yeah, I actually thought about doing that. There was another crazy deal too. I was almost going to do a quick short on it a couple of weeks ago. I think it was the BZ4X. They were doing like a crazy lease deal on that for a very brief period of time. And I was like, oh man, like I got to do a short on this. But it was like, I think it was like towards the end of the month, I was like, I guarantee you they'll probably get rid of this deal at the end of the month. It was like a week-long thing, and that was it. And sure enough, they did get rid of it. So I'm like, well, I'm glad I didn't like make all this publicity for Toyota just for them to be like, oh, wait, actually, we don't have the deal anymore. And have people be mad in the comments that like the deal went away. But yeah, that's something that could be fun to do. In like a non-sales pitchy kind of way, just for fun. And because I think that that would also kind of jive with what I'm trying to do, is help people find a car they'll love, and trying to help people to not get screwed on deals and stuff. If I can be like, hey, look, here's the cheapest deals out there this month. Don't pay 50 grand for a car. Get an Ioniq 6 for $189 a month and call it a day. And just things like that, I think could be beneficial. I see some hearts there. Hopefully you guys are appreciating that. So yeah, I mean, that could be something for sure. And so maybe once I run across those, if I just have a few minutes in the day, I can, pop one of those on. I'm glad to see that some of you are interested in, short form stuff. And I know you mentioned it as either added onto the weekly update or a monthly thing as a separate thing too. I mean, that could be also a fun thing. I know there's a couple websites that do stuff like that like every month. Like, here's the best lease deals for May or whatever. There are some of those things out there, but I don't think anyone really does it on video. So that could be a fun little easy video idea. I mean, the problem with that is, again, it's not evergreen. So it's a very short burn of same as the weekly updates, where it's like, yeah, here's the deals this month, and then no one's ever going to watch that video again after that month or whatever, but yeah, I mean, you said add it onto the weekly update or something could be kind of cool too. Yeah, I'll have to noodle with that idea. I appreciate the suggestion. And yeah, that's something I could definitely get behind. I appreciate all the reactions and the emojis to that. It's great to see all those. It definitely helps give instant feedback while I'm actively rambling here. So thank you for that. And Bruce, thank you for a super chat as well. He says, what's some advice that you still follow today? That's a deep question. I think, well, one of the ones I was actually just talking to someone else who sent me a message about this today, about just living in the moment. That's something I haven't done a very good job of doing that, in the past. It was always about, the goal and, the next, either whether we're talking about on the channel or just as far as cars or whatever, like, oh, what's the next goal? Like, oh, after I get this or that, I want to go to this and that. And it's always just like looking forward. And and trying to, climb higher versus just appreciating where I'm at right now. And I think, especially once I became a dad, I really focused on like, all right, I gotta like be present in the now, and I gotta just like enjoy right now. It might not be ideal, it might not be exactly where I want to be, or might not be something I'm 100% happy with in every possible way, but like, find the things that I am really appreciative of right now, enjoy that stuff, savor that stuff, and just, soak in those good vibes of, the things I'm really appreciative of right now. And so I think that's been something, again, especially with kids, anyone who has kids knows that the time goes by so fast, and you really got to just like, try your hardest just to just absorb every moment that you get with them, because it's just like, before you know it, like that stage is done. This fascination is gone and done with, or whatever it is, as far as they're always interested in something new, or they're on a different stage and they're learning new things. They're, acquiring new skills, and, just so many of those things, even just like, the funny little things that our daughter says, and just like wanting to like, just keep all that stuff, forever in our minds of, this fun things that, she said a few months ago that she doesn't say anymore. Just even things like that, just that are. So I think that's really been one of my biggest focuses is, not dwelling on, like things suck right now, I need things to be better, and I need to, make more money and have more cars and do this, that, and the other. Like, and instead just be like, things are great, and just be appreciative of, of the current situation. And I think that's hopefully helpful for some of you. So I see the hundreds going up there on the emoji. So I appreciate that. But yeah, I think that's something we can all benefit from, because, you hear so much gloom and doom, and there's a lot of problems in the world. There's a lot of things that can bum us out, and, we all have our own problems. We have our own struggles. And, it's just choosing to not focus on that stuff, and just, trying to be like, well, this one thing is going well, and even if the rest of the world is a dumpster fire, at least I got my fun car, or at least I, have an amazing family, or, take your pick. We all have a bunch of things that we can be thankful for. So I think that's really the biggest thing that I've been trying to follow myself, that I haven't done a great job with in the past. And thanks, Bruce, for the very deep super chat there. And Joe, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, hey, Matt, what other new car out there besides the Nissan Versa is in that price range and available with a manual? I don't think there's anything else. I think Versa is probably it, because I think Mirage got rid of the manual. And there's really nothing else in that class anymore. Like, and nothing with a manual. Yeah, I think the cheapest manual after Versa probably be base Civic, which, I think it's what the Civic Sport offers the manual with the base 2-liter motor. I think that's going to be the next cheapest thing possibly, because Corolla got rid of manual too, outside of GR. Yeah, I think. I mean, I'd have to look exactly at the numbers. Maybe there's something else, but I think it's probably got to be Civic. It's going to be the next step up from Versa. So, I mean, Civic's, it's a good jump up from Versa, so it's not a minor price jump. So that's why, honestly, if you're looking new, the manual, if you're on a tight budget, it sucks because used interest rates are so much worse than new in a lot of cases right now, but I'd probably just say something used, or, even if there's like, if you can buy like certified stuff that might have a better interest rate or something like that, or if there's like a lease, you could get into, or something that would be a little bit better, something like that. But I'd say that's probably going to be your best bet is the Versa or a Civic, most likely. And let me see. Thanks, Joe, again for the super chat. And Jorge, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, please buy Beth a Mother's Day coffee/drink on your fans. Cheers. I appreciate that. I'll be sure to treat her. We'll swing by Starbucks here in the next few days and get her a drink. I appreciate that, Jorge. And yeah, hope your Mother's Day has been good for any of the lovely ladies in your life as well. And let me see, getting back to the member questions here. Again, don't want to get too behind on those. Let me grab a drink while I find where I left off here. So I think, where was it? Slam Sedan says, "Hey Matt, seems like the channel has gotten a spike in views. Wish you much prolonged success." Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, just that Miata video, and then I'm trying to keep the momentum going. The Bullet video has done pretty well as well, and the Ram video has done well. Just I kind of got lucky with, being able to do that Sky this week that just popped up at Harrison Auto Sales, and I was able to. That was a very lucky thing. I'm like, all right, I gotta try and clear out a few hours to go out there and film that and push back the review I was planning for that day, and just try and get that done. And again, really trying to carry the momentum from that Miata video as best I can. And PK says, yeah, the views have gone up. It looks like, yeah, just on the stuff this past week. We will see how long I can keep it going. I'm going to try my hardest to put the best stuff out there that I can. It's really going to amount to just doing the cool stuff that I can do. I mean, I got some cool stuff coming in as far as press cars and stuff, but I'm going to have some boring cars as well. So, it's going to we'll see how long the momentum lasts. I'm hoping, like I said, this, turns a new page for the channel. I'm going to try my hardest, work my hardest, and do the best I can. And we'll see where the chips fall. And Luke says, is the Toyota Crown worth the extra price over a Camry hybrid or even an Accord hybrid for that matter? It depends on what you're looking for out of the Crown. Because Crown actually has, I think these days, probably, the Camry is the same size as the last one, but I think you actually get a slight bit more rear legroom with Camry, or it's basically equal. So Crown, really the only niche I really see for Crown is people who either want a higher ride height slightly, or if you want the hybrid max powertrain, which you don't get in the Camry. So Crown, I think really the market there is going for that. Or if you're just burned out of seeing Camrys and you don't want to have another Camry or another Accord, it's like, oh, a Crown, what's that? And it's just interesting. If you're someone who wants to just have something that stands out from the crowd a little bit, I think Crown that's the kind of case where it's worth the extra money. There's also, it sounds like there's killer deals on Crowns, like they're not selling well. So if you walk into a dealer and you say, hey, I want a new Camry hybrid, they're like, oh, good luck getting that, and they're going to play hardball with you. They'd be like, well, what about that Crown that's sitting on the corner of the lot? And like, oh, please take the Crown. If it's something like that, it might actually end up being cheaper than the Camry right now, especially if you're wanting a 24 Camry or 25. If they're gonna again be hard to get, and dealers being crappy with them and stuff, then yeah, go for the Crown that people aren't wanting. And I think Crown is great. It's just, again, hard to justify, and it wasn't as sporty as I was hoping it would be with the hybrid max. But it's punchy, it's fast. It's just that everything else about it is just it's an Avalon. It's the successor to the Avalon basically. And so if you go into it with that framework, if you're okay with Avalon, and Crown is appealing to you, then I'd say go for it. But I think Accord hybrid is great too. They're really, really nicely done. So I guess it comes down to whatever the best deal is, to be completely honest. And best interest rates, if that's a factor. If Crown's got some crazy good finance rate on it and Camry hybrid is not great, then again, there's a bunch of those kinds of things that can factor the deal into making the Crown better. But my guess is you're going to get a much better deal on a Crown than a Camry right now, or an Accord probably for that matter. So I'd say, for that reason alone, if Crown comes in under those or even equal to those, I could argue, again, you're getting the more unique car. If that's something that's of value to you, then I'd say go for that. And that's a good question, though. I'm glad someone's thinking about the Crown, because it seems like everyone's forgotten about it already. And Dave says the Pontiac ad was weird, could have been a joke, but had trademarks and no other apparent motive. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't think I saw a Pontiac ad recently. If there's some buzz about Pontiac coming back or something, then please send a link over to any of the contact info in the description there. I'd love to check that out after the stream here. That would be cool. There's a first I've heard of that. So thanks for the heads up, Dave. I'll have to look into that. You just got me really excited. If there's any kind of even faint chance of a Pontiac comeback. I would be excited for that. And Luke says this is a pipe dream, but they should make a Mazda 7 Turbo Drive large coupe with the 3-liter inline 6 motor. Yeah. Well, there was a patent of, what was the Vision Coupe concept, if you remember that. There was a patent of like that as a production car with like detailed suspension, blueprinting, and all this like done in the patent. Like the car is basically fully done. It seems like whether Mazda brings it to life or not is another thing, but there are very detailed patents out there for a large Mazda coupe. And so I'd love to see, call it the 7, call it the 9, even if you want to have parity with, CX9 or something. It'd be great with any of those. It sounds good to me. So, I think it'd be a great idea for sure. We'll keep our fingers crossed that Mazda does something cool. I'd even be excited for the Mazda 6, to actually make a full-blown comeback. Reno, thank you so much again for another very generous super chat. He says, hey man, do you study any of the new car channels to see what they're doing to grow new viewership and maybe updating the editing style of your videos and thumbnails? P.S. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you. Like I said, we had a great day with Beth. As far as, that's one of the things I've really been doing along with my soul searching here for the past, while at this point. It's been a long time of me trying to figure out, looking in the mirror, being like, what am I doing wrong here? Like, what am I missing that others have? There's a couple of things that I've kind of had as takeaways. I think, like you said, the editing style and thumbnails, I'm not convinced that really matters a ton. And I think the Miata kind of proved my point this past week, where thumbnails, nothing special. Editing style is the same as it's been forever. My presentation is the same thing, same format pretty much. Like basically carbon copy. And there's even a few commenters who are like, wow, this is like the old days of YouTube car reviews. Like it's like nostalgic. And I'm like, sweet. All right. Well, like if we can dial up like the Subaru X fan nostalgia here, and just people that are like, maybe like, wow, like this is different. I'm so used to seeing Haggerty videos and Savage Geese videos and all these things that are like movies. It's like, wow, yeah, remember the days when it was just some like dude with a camera stuck to the windshield, like talking. So there's some actual people that like were commenting that and like appreciating that. And so I'm like, okay, I'll take it. But I obviously that video did very, very well. And so I think that video really, really drives home the point. This has always been like the point that I've heard from a lot of other car reviewers in the business as well, who are like, the car is the star, the car is the king. If the car is not what people want to see, or if there's any kind of bad vibes or people are just annoyed about it, bored with it, whatever the case is, like if it's not exciting from a car standpoint, it doesn't matter. Yes, you can get better views if Jason Camisa, does a barrel roll in a Hyundai Elantra. Like, sure, you're going to watch that more than you will watch me say, oh, the Elantra's a nice little car. But, sure, you can amp up the appeal there, with crazy, explosions or whatever you want to, put on top of it. But, at the end of the day, like it's really going to come down to the car, I think. And so I think that's why, like, really going forward, like, I don't know, my thumbnails aren't amazing, but I think I honestly like I do nicer thumbnails than some of the others out there that just have like text in boxes and stuff. Like I think, having the badge is kind of cool personally. Again, maybe others don't agree, but so I feel like, and I actually went back, anyone who's watching in my old videos recently, some of them I did enhance the thumbnails. Basically, I just kind of cropped them in because a lot of them were horribly framed. I don't know what I was thinking 10 years ago with some of these thumbnails, but I cropped them in. I amped up the saturation to make them pop more. And, that's the trend these days. So I just basically cranked up the saturation, cropped them down, maybe tweaked the title a little bit, things like that, just to make them a little more appealing. And I went through, that was something I did late last year. And I looked at all the videos that still get any kind of views that were worth tinkering with, and I amped up all those already. But I think, the Miata video proves the point. Like, I just need to go out and find the cool cars, like the Saturn Sky Redline, like that did better than an average video. And that's, again, I think it's only at like 11 or 12,000 views. So it's not like it's, blowing up or anything, but that's better than what I usually get, in a first few days of a car review. So those are the baby steps. Like the Miata thing was a crazy, like perfect storm kind of situation. I'm very thankful for it, but like I can't recreate that. Those kind of opportunities, just don't come around, hardly ever. So it's really just like the Saturn Sky kind of case point of like, okay, this is maybe double the views of what an average video gets in the first few days. This is a good start. This is a good baby step. Like, let's try and, focus on that kind of stuff. And this is why, like, for me, it's just finding the cool cars that no one else has done, the cars that I don't have to compete with. The embargo stuff is great, and some of those occasionally do well for me. But it's really, for me, the gold mines are going to be the Impala SS stuff. They've got 200,000 views last year. Things like that, I think, are going to be the focal point. And that's why, like, every day I'm on Harrison Auto Sales website, which is my friend that owns that used car dealership, and seeing what he's got. Is there anything remotely interesting, anything that, is underserved in the market, whether it's something that's super exciting or something that's just more ordinary, but no one's done a video on it for a long time. Like I did a 2020 BMW 330i, not super exciting, but like, a lot of the reviewers just did the M340i or just did M3s, things like that. And no one's done a 330i video in a while. And it was like, cool, like there's no competition here. My videos do well when there's not much competition. So trying to find those pockets of no competition or little competition and filling those voids. I mean, like that 330i video is actually done really well. It's not blowing up, but it's consistently giving me a couple bucks a day. And like, that's the kind of stuff, if I can string some of those together, that's the kind of stuff that eventually can make, a big difference. So it's really about just finding the best cars possible. And whether it's saying no to certain press cars that I think are just gonna be a waste of time, or it's saying no to offers. People are like, oh, I'd love for you to review my car. And it's like, I mean, a lot of times I just don't have the time either, but if it's just something, I'm not going to, go out of my way to review something unless I am convinced that it's going to be something that most of you want to see. So it's really about just obsessing over getting the right car, on the channel there. And that's going to be the bottom line, I think, for me. It's something I've always focused on. That's never been something I haven't focused, on less, but I think these days, especially, it's like really being savage about like, this is not worth my time, or this is worth my time. And also, like, that's another thing, like there used to be a lot of cool cars that would come through Harrison Auto Sales, and I'd be like, oh, well, I got 2 press cars this week, I'm too busy, I don't have time, I'm just gonna let it slide. But like, I've been recently been like, you know what, all right, stop everything I'm doing, let me just screw up my whole schedule for the week, but let me go out there and immediately go film that car before it gets sold, before I lose the opportunity, get it filmed, post it whenever I can post it, but just don't miss those key opportunities. I think that's really the big change for me, is just, I always was like, well, I don't have time, and I don't have the time, but I can just can screw everything up, work overtime, the next few evenings or whatever it is to catch up. But I got to just cut that time out of my schedule to go and get the cool cars whenever they pop up. So I think that's really the big focus here. And sorry again for the long answers, and I'm sure I'm getting behind here on all the other comments. But anyway, thank you again for the very generous super chats, Reno, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of extra insight there into that to help grow the viewership. And Chad, thank you so much for a super chat as well. He says, my husband Jordan and I have been huge fans for a while. He's here as well. Your thoughts on Hyundai and going electric? Well, thanks for joining in, Chad. And yeah, cool to see the other side. I always see Jordan commenting, so cool to see you here as well. So as far as thoughts on Hyundai and going electric, well, I'm hopefully going to be getting an Ioniq 5N here to review in the next month or two. And that's one of the cars I've been most excited to review this year, because it's, again, so creative, so different from other EVs, with the shift points and the sounds and the drama, the redlining, all that kind of stuff. I'm very excited for that car. And so I love the creativity. Anyone who goes the extra mile, and instead of just phoning it in with like, well, it's electric, so that means it has to be silent, it has to be boring, and it has to just like, be a nice commuter. Like, I love that they're not going away quietly, literally speaking, and so I think that's great. And I want to support that and applaud that, because I think, if you want to have any kind of fun in the future with these kinds of things, then you've got to have that kind of stuff. And so, if we send the message that, yes, give us drama, give us stuff, even if it's fake, I'd rather have fake stuff than nothing at all. And I think hopefully if that message, is supported and, you know, people respond to that well as far as buying the things, then, you know, I think that's going to hopefully keep the enthusiast part of the EVs going in the right direction. You know, and we'll see Charger's going to be trying the same thing here with, you know, the new Charger. So another one where it's like, hopefully it's done well. Hopefully it's exciting to people. It's fun. And, you know, gives us something more than just, you know, silent, super impressive 0 to 60s, you know, in the future. You know, and then we have other things to be excited about with these vehicles as well. And thank you again, Chad, for the super chat. Getting back to the other member questions here. So let me see. Where was I? I'm gonna keep on scrolling up here. I don't want to miss any of the member questions. Yeah, Austin says definitely Pontiac for me. They build excitement. So Hugo missed. Oh, sorry, I missed your super chat. I missed. Yeah, sorry, Hugo. I apologize. I missed your super chat a while ago. He says, "Hey, Matt, good to see you. Out of all the discontinued brands, which would you like to see make a return? I think either Scion or Saturn. I'd love to see both. Pontiac, I agree with Austin. Pontiac for sure too. Yeah, those are the top ones. Saturn, I think it's still amazing that hasn't come back as an electric car brand to me. I think that'd be perfect. Scion would be cool. I think Scion would be tough though these days. So that one, I'd like to see any of them come back, but I think Scion would just be an uphill battle, unfortunately. And I think Toyota's doing a really good job with all the enthusiast stuff that they don't really need a Scion anymore. But I think all, you know, the Saturns, the Pontiacs, I'd love to see Pontiac come back as like a good Dodge competitor, which is I think what it should have been this past decade. I think it could have been Pontiac G8 could have been just as successful as Charger if they would have put the same marketing budget and the same love and care into it as Dodge put into Charger. They could have had an identical success story to Dodge, I think, with G8 and, you know, whatever came after that. Same thing with GTO versus Challenger. Could have been the exact same success story, I think. So I think Pontiac was an enormous missed opportunity in this golden era of horsepower we had. And I know actually Bob Lutz, who, you know, was the GM executive at the time, he just did an interview, I think in the past week or two. I was just reading this past week, and he went through each brand that was lost during the recession and, you know, his take on all of those. And he was like, he even said in the interview, I really dug my heels in on Pontiac, but the feds or whoever that was calling the shots for that stuff were like, this is a redundant brand. It needs to go. Even though he's like, we were really starting to turn Pontiac around. I think Pontiac really, I think it's the most like, you know, unsung story. I think Pontiac really could have been something huge in the past decade here. It's really a shame. So that would be the one. And again, sorry, Hugo, I missed your super chat there. Apologize for that. And Austin says, hey, Matt, do you think Tesla might have started their gradual decline with Elon's polarizing politics, layoffs, pulling job listings, and the Cybertruck's rocky rollout and quality issues? I know I have some Tesla fans, so this one I kind of got to tiptoe around, unfortunately, because I got plenty of opinions. I could just you know, unleash. But I mean, I think Tesla does have some really good products. I think the Model 3 refresh seems really solid. I guess that's really the only thing right now that's, you know, super promising. I mean, Cybertruck seems to be selling well-ish, you know, so, but yeah, and I saw a post even today that was like, you know, all Elon had to do was just like do good stuff at Tesla and none of the other crap he's been doing, and like Tesla would have been fine. But I think that they're really struggling now because of him, polarizing everything. I mean, you know, especially in an election year like this, like people get bombarded with enough of this crap. Like no one needs any more opinions on this stuff, you know, like I think we've all, you know, gotten our opinions all together. Like we all have our thoughts on everything. And like, this is why I've never gone into politics stuff. You know, I have opinions. I could just sit here and spout them off all day as well, but this is a car channel. Like I don't think, in the same way, like Elon, it's not like he's only in the car business, like he does other stuff, but like, you know, anyone will tell you. I mean, this is part of why I've never talked about politics and things like that, is because I don't want to alienate half of my viewers. Regardless of what I say, I'm going to piss off half the people that I'm talking to. It's like, it's just a losing game. So, I mean, I guess Elon's rich enough. He doesn't care if he's, going to just go and, light a bag of cash on fire and walk away laughing. I mean, if, if that doesn't bother him, then that's fine. But like, it's just a shame because there's a lot of really smart people within Tesla, and they have some really hardworking people there. And I mean, like, they're one big executive that just walked away after 7 years there. It's like, it's a great company, has a lot of great stuff, but it's like, I can't support it anymore with the way things are going. And so, I mean, obviously the full self-driving thing has been something that's been a major issue. And I think we're just starting to see still the fallout of that. I think we're seeing all this fraud stuff starting to pop up. And like, I think that the potentially massive collapse of Tesla is just starting. I mean, again, all the things you just laid out there, plus all the fact that there seems like there's some sketchy stuff, in the background going on too, beyond the other sketchy stuff there that you listed, just as far as financial stuff goes with them and all that. I don't know. Yeah, I think, and honestly, it seems like Elon might see the writing on the wall with, selling out the supercharger network, and not really investing in product a whole lot, with sticking to their guns with Cybertruck, regardless of, all the advice against it. Model 3, again, a nice refresh, but, where's the Model S? I mean, it's still just amazing. They still are trying to fight the industry where, everyone wants a new version every 4 or 5 years. You can't have a Model S at this point is what, 11 years old now, 12 maybe? Like, unless you're the Forerunner or something, like that doesn't fly, so like, it's just, everyone's just going to go get a Lucid because they're tired of having a Tesla for 10 years, a Model S or whatever. They're going to go buy a Lucid. They're going to go buy whatever. It's just, yeah, it's just, again, the product is still good enough in a lot of ways that, like, yeah, if Elon wasn't upsetting people, if they didn't have this dumpster fire going on behind the scenes, like, they could have probably still coasted by longer, but I think he's accelerating their decline. And, yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the way Elon's going, I've been joking around about this among other people recently. I'm like, I'm expecting Tesla to drop a V8 in something any day now. The way he's shifted with everything, it's like, does he even like electric cars anymore? Like, I don't know. And the way he's going, so maybe that's on the horizon. We'll see some V8 Teslas down the road. I don't know, but yeah, it's very interesting, and it's a shame because, again, I know that Tesla is more than just Elon Musk, but it's so hard to separate the two anymore. And that it shouldn't be that way. Like, no one talks about Jim Farley hardly ever. How many people talk about Mary Barra? Like, yeah, people complain the second anything goes wrong with the GM vehicle, like, oh, Mary Barra, blah, blah, blah. But like, she's not out there, doing hot takes on everything. She's not spouting off about every opinion that goes through her head, So, I mean, it makes it harder on himself. He is the sole reason for half of his misery, I think. It's just him putting himself through the ringer. I don't know why he does it to himself, but it's not my life, not my problem, but it's definitely interesting to see it all go down. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. Just like how we've seen Fisker blowing up before our very eyes here in the past few months. I don't think it's going to be quite that fast for Tesla. There's obviously a lot more mass there. It's going to take a lot longer for the whole thing to collapse, but I think that something's going to happen, whether it's, and I actually saw an interesting tweet, which this is very far-fetched, so I'm not acting like this is a legitimate thing, but like, there was someone who was like, maybe like Toyota and Honda and those companies knew that Tesla was going to eventually fail and that Elon was going to do Elon, and that they're just kind of sitting back and they're going to let it collapse and then either come in, swoop in and buy the tech cheap, buy out Tesla cheap, or whatever. And, like, if Toyota swept in and was like, you know what, actually, we do want to have a huge electric car lineup, and all of a sudden Tesla became part of Toyota or something as their electric arm, and then, all of a sudden overnight they have a new reputation because boom, there's no more Elon anymore, and you have, better quality control, you have this, that, and the other. I think there's that kind of potential for Tesla in the future to be bought by someone who just wants, a shortcut, and someone who's got the deep pockets to go for a shortcut like that. I think, it could honestly make sense to be like, okay, let's like watch this stock plummet and wait till it gets to a cheap enough point where Toyota or someone just steps in and is like, all right, we'll bite, and just buys the whole thing. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think it's going to be one of the most interesting things to watch here in the automotive industry here for the next, year or so. We'll see. And yeah, that's my take on it for whoever cares, for better or for worse here. But A Silva, thank you so much for being a member for 13 months. I really appreciate it. He says, hey man, hoping for more enthusiast options in the industry, whether gas, EV, hybrid, etc. Tell Beth happy Mother's Day. Thank you. I appreciate that. And yeah, I'm hoping we get more and more enthusiast stuff. I think that we're getting a good bit, and I hope we see a lot more, pop up. I really hope that it's just affordable stuff, because there's lots of enthusiast stuff out there, but it's all expensive right now for the most part, outside of the few, all-stars, the Miata, the GR86, the BRZ, the GR Corolla, anything under 50 or whatever. But there's not a lot of those options, WRX is, those types of things. But I wish we had more, and hopefully, they will realize someday that, hey, not everyone's got $100,000 to spend on a car that's fun. Like, let's do some more fun stuff. I'm hoping Sentra, I think at SEMA, they had, a Sentra with a manual and the turbo motor. Like, I hope that comes out. I hope we get some, other options there to compete with Civic Si, things like that too. So we'll see. But anyway, thank you, Silva. And Chad, thank you so much for another super chat. He says, how do you think the battery shape will affect the style of new cars? Also, people are worried about who makes the battery, but don't understand their transmission is probably third party. Yeah, there's some of that. I think, honestly, a lot of people, I haven't even really heard too many people worry about the battery stuff, to be totally honest. Like, the average buyer, they don't know anything about the battery, or that it's even a separate component. Who knows about, like, who makes the battery for their iPhone or whatever, where that's sourced from, things like that. It's, I feel like there's, a lot of people just, again, when you're in an enthusiast world, like, we all think about that kind of stuff, but like, it's so refreshing, even just like going on and seeing like someone else, write a post about something car related, and it's like, wow, like this is how some people who don't follow cars like think about cars. I see it all the time with people complaining about, like, I rented an EV for the first time, and wow, like, it's so crazy. Like, sometimes chargers don't always work and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, like, I think that's a video I'm going to do. I need to do like here's 10 tips for a good experience in an EV, because there's so many people that, like, they've never heard of PlugShare before. They've never ever thought, wait a minute, maybe I should look up this charging location the same way I look up the Yelp reviews for my restaurant that I'm going to that's new. Like, people don't even think that, like, hey, researching charging stations is a thing, and probably a good thing. That's a good idea. Or best practices, like, you don't need to charge it to 100%. There's all these basic things that are like completely foreign to most people. So that's why I really need to do like here's a top 10 FAQs, like things you should know before you drive an EV or something like that. But I think, again, the battery thing, I think, is very low on people's worry list, to be totally honest. But as far as the battery shape and how that'll affect the new style of cars, I mean, we're starting to see some companies playing with that a little bit. There's the T-shaped battery already in the Taycan, which, carves out a little more rear seat legroom there by allowing you to have a little bit of a pocket for your feet where there isn't a battery there in that part of the floor. And we're seeing also Porsche playing around with a mid-engine style battery setup where they're going to have it stacked where a mid-engine would normally be in like a Cayman or a Boxster. We're going to hopefully be seeing that here at some point, I think later this year, for the new electric Cayman and Boxster, where they're going to have this so that, not only is it going to be a cool way to package batteries, but it's also going to give you that kind of a driving dynamic of where is the mass of the vehicle right behind the driver, and retain that mid-engine feel even with an EV, instead of just having everything be on a skateboard and calling it a day, So I think that's going to be another fun component here, with playing around with where you put the battery could really affect so much, and it'd be a fun way to play around with, like, yes, maybe it's objectively worse if we put all the batteries up front, but maybe if we do that, it'll feel more like a front-wheel drive hot hatch or something, because then the back end's light, or, whatever. There's various little things you can play around with. I think it's kind of an intriguing idea for sure. Um, and let me see. Running Wild, thank you so much for super chat as well. He says there was talks that Twitter is only worth half of what Elon bought it for, and he was thinking about selling. Yeah, I mean, I think it's lost. I thought it was even more than half the value since he took ownership. So it's not a good investment there for him. And even it's the ads that are on X now and stuff. It's like it's kind of sad because it's like it's changed so much. And I won't get into that because again, I know it's all very polarizing, but it's wild what's happened with that too. But anyway, getting back to the member questions, thank you again for the super chat there, Renan. And where was I? I know we're behind on member questions. We're almost at 2 hours, so I'm going to try and get caught up here before we sign off. So where was I here? I'm sorry, I'm so far behind, guys. So let me see. Dave says, I don't watch shorts at all, waste of time. It's just personal preference, I guess. Good Stick says, almost got rear-ended by a Tesla Model X. The road got narrow and the guy was tailgating me. I stopped because the car in front of me stopped. He nearly caused an accident. Man, that's, I'm always a little nervous, but is the person in the Tesla understanding their car is not full self-driving? And, are they actually having their hands on the wheel? I have to analyze because there's just, again, not enough education with Tesla buyers as far as what their car can do and can't do. And I mean, obviously people tailgating is a universal problem that's not unique to Tesla or anything, but definitely a scary situation for sure. So I'm glad you ended up being okay there. Good Stick. And Austin says, stick to a wide berth between me and Teslas. He sticks to a wide berth there. There are some of the most attentive drivers. I definitely keep an eye out extra for Tesla drivers as well. The Trunk Car Guy says, finally saw my first Cybertruck driving, and I have to say it's a very weird looking vehicle. Agreed. Daniel says, after all this EV talk, it's time for a less controversial topic. Trump or Biden? Yeah, I'm definitely not touching that with a 10-foot pole. That's a dangerous one there. Austin says, I think YouTube prioritizes life changes titles and videos. I think that's why the bullet video got so many views and engagement. Maybe try to leverage that in your video titles. Yeah, and that's kind of tricky to do with car stuff, it's, unless you want to do the Scotty thing and act like you're dying every other week or whatever. But outside of that, it's just, for me, it just gets clickbaity really fast if it's not genuine. I know you're saying maybe other ways of trying to work that kind of stuff in. I think, it's one of these things. I'd have to have a much more dramatic life, or at least drama that I'm comfortable sharing publicly, than I think people that really put their whole lives out there, especially again, if it's chaotic, that's, a great thing for views because people love reality TV and that's all it is, but it's tough trying to think. I think the thing with the bullet video that did really well too is, a lot of people were really invested in that car and they were really excited about, that whole journey. They're really happy that I, was able to achieve that dream. And that was a fun ride, I think, and I think a lot of people, even if they don't watch videos, a lot of people commented like, hey, I haven't watched in a long time, but YouTube pushed this video through for me and I had to watch it, and I think the algorithm finally actually was really smart about being like, hey, even if this person hasn't watched this channel in a long time, this video is important. We need to push this through. And I'm really glad that actually happened for, again, a lot of people, not everybody. Again, I got almost 450,000 subscribers now. And that video's got 50,000 views. So, I mean, it still shows you, even for a major video, major life change. I mean, most of those videos, most of those views probably weren't even subscribers, or probably maybe 25, 30% of those were subscribers. So, even for something as crazy as that, only 20,000, 30,000 of my subscribers even cared to watch that or saw it. So it's still tough, but I think that is something I've also been trying to, focus on for going forward, is trying to do more personal videos in a non-obnoxious way. Cause I don't want to assume that people care that much about my life. I know that a lot of you really do, support the channel and, but you're here for the cars and I don't want to make it that much about me. I still want the focus to be on the cars and helping you find a car for you and not about me and all that crap. Unlike, again, a lot of others out there, but so it's, you know, it's a, yeah, I know the formula and I know what sells and what works, but then it's like, can I do that stuff in my own way and be happy with what I'm doing? You know, it's tough, but yeah, if there's ways I can try and work in a more personal, you know, title or a more personal video, or I can work in a vlog that's, you know, something I think is worth sharing. Um, you know, I want to do more personal stuff, and you know, even if for like member videos, I want to try and, you know, do a behind the scenes video here and there, and try and do more of day in the life kind of stuff, you know, a little bit, you know, but it's just, yeah, and I was talking to Beth about this just the other night about trying to, you know, like how would I do a day in the life video? Like usually it's just me sitting in front of my computer editing, you know, it's not super exciting. I'm not like some of the other YouTubers that are going and hanging out with their car buddies and street racing and then coming back and, you know, doing other stuff. Like it's, I don't, that's not my life. I don't have much of a social life at all, honestly. So there's just not a lot to film there as far as exciting stuff, you know, outside of the cars. But again, that's stuff I'm still continuing to, you know, work towards trying to, you know, switch it up a little bit if I can, when I have the right opportunities. And Mello, thank you so much for a super chat as well. A very generous one. They're saying, I've been following you for like 8 years now. Always found you to be very genuine and authentic, even with channels like Throttle House and Haggerty putting out cinematic type videos. I'll always check out Subaru fan content. Love you, bro. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And yeah, you know, I see this stuff. You know, I can read the room. I know, you know, Throttle House, Haggerty, they do amazing stuff. You know, if you only have 20 minutes in your day to watch a car video, I'd watch the Throttle House with Haggerty video instead as well. You know, like I totally get it. And that's the reality. I've been, you know, just trying to carve out my own little niche, and, you know, I'm happy, you know, being one of the lower ones on the totem pole there, but, you know, trying to get my little bit of views, you know, when I can. But I mean, yeah, the competition's never been better. You know, it's just fantastic content out there for you guys to watch these days. And you know, and just people have less time. You know, a lot of us all kind of grew up together. Like you said, you've been watching 8 years. You know, we've all kind of went from being, you know, high school kids, college kids, into, you know, having families, having careers. You know, we don't have time like we did in our dorms sitting around watching videos. You know, I totally get it. And I think there's some of that contributing to the views as well. It's not that people hate the channel or hate me or hate cars or whatever. There's, you know, there could be some of that as well. But, you know, I think a lot of it's just, we're all busy these days. You know, we all got stuff to do, and I totally understand that. And that's why, again, it's just trying to, you know, stay afloat here while realizing that reality, and, you know, not being bitter about it, not blaming the algorithm and being mad about life. You know, it's just like, look, you know, it's just the way it goes. And so just trying to do the best I can with it. But I appreciate that, and thank you for all the little emojis there and the agreements. I appreciate that, everyone. And Ig, thank you so much for your first super chat as well. I really appreciate it. I will keep an eye out if there's any other question. I'm going to try. I know we're already over time here, but I'm going to try and get caught up with the other member questions here as quickly as I can, and then we'll sign off here for the night. But let me see. Where was I? Luke says, I like watching dash cam channels on my TV. Nice. Yeah, that's something that's fun. Yeah, I'd like to do more dash cam stuff if I ever see anything interesting. It's just I don't drive enough to be totally honest. And let me see. So looking for other member questions here. Jonah saying his super chat didn't go through or something. So I didn't see. If you have a question, Jonah, definitely, I want to answer your question. I don't want to miss it. Okay, I see it here. If you're still around, Jonah, he says, what are your thoughts on BMW's new front ends? Will they age well in, say, 5 or 10 years? In my opinion, BMW's current designs are way too polarizing. Thank you, Austin, also for highlighting that. I really appreciate it, because I don't want anyone to, you know, feel like they were, you know, missing out or ripped off in any way. So thank you, Jonah, for hopefully sticking around here. So as far as thoughts on the new BMW front ends, I don't like them at all. It's crazy, but, you know, at the end of the day, though, even if they don't age well, I don't think BMW honestly cares that much, because they're worried about selling new cars. They don't care about what happens when they're used. So when you look at their new car sales and their profit margins as well, Alex on Autos actually just did a little chart that showed like BMW has some of the best profit margins in the industry right now, and their sales are great. They're way better than Mercedes right now. I think they're doing better than Audi too. Like, and I'm the first to say, like, I hate most of the styling on all these new BMWs, but the numbers say otherwise. Like, they're not putting off buyers. People are buying them up still at a better rate than even before. So by the numbers, the styling is 100% a home run. It is 100% working, and it's actually working better than even past BMW styling. So maybe there's a lot of people on the sidelines that were just bored with BMW styling. And the second it finally got polarizing, they're like, finally, something interesting, something that people do a double take at, not just the blander styling that's conservative and classy and will look great in 5 or 10 years, but is it selling something right now? So I think I mean, I gotta hand it to him. I mean, I gotta give credit where credit is due. It wouldn't have been my call, but BMW is clearly doing the right thing right now. We might not love it, but they're doing the right thing from a number standpoint, a customer standpoint. So kudos to them. And I will be the first to admit I was wrong. I thought for sure it would tank their sales, and it has not. So yeah, it's been a nice surprise. I mean, I never want to see a car company do badly, so I'm glad that it's working for them. I wish they could find a way to make attractive cars that also sell really well, but hey, I mean, their accountants are happy and their customers seem to be happy as well. So I can't argue with that. So that's been interesting and great question. Sorry again, I missed it, Jonah, and kept you waiting so long. I apologize. Let me see. So Good Stick says, when do you think the new car prices will come down permanently because the high prices nowadays are not sustainable? I think that, I mean, obviously the inflation thing has changed the gauge of, what is a price that is expected for certain segments and stuff like that has changed permanently. So that's not going back. It's just that the same way, that you could get a nice car for 20 grand 20 years ago, like 20 is the new 30, 30 is the new 40, so on and so forth. But, I think as far as, cars continuing to rise in price and stuff, I think that we're starting to see a limit to the amount of, urban cowboys that can buy $100,000 pickup trucks and, things like that. Like, there's only so much of that you can do before it's like, okay, we've hit the limit of the amount of people that can do this kind of stuff. So I think hopefully there will be, a new push towards more affordable vehicles, but unfortunately it really seems like, slowly but surely car ownership in general is just kind of getting pushed, especially new car ownership is getting pushed to being a more and more of a luxury in general, just like the ability to buy a car. It's just getting more and more expensive. And I think more and more people are going to use stuff. And this is why I'm trying to do more and more used reviews, because, the new prices are driving everyone away, but I can't see a path for them to really get much cheaper. You can only decontent stuff so much these days, especially whenever, again, even if something's $25,000 and someone has that same old viewpoint of like, well, 25 grand bought me a BMW 20 years ago. Like, when you're fighting up against that, you can't say, okay, 25 grand, there's no more power windows, or there's no more power locks, or there's no more radio, or you can't cut stuff out like you used to be able to do to really make a super cheap car. So I think that, like the one thing I'm excited about that's going to really bring back, affordable cars is like VinFast. They have that little VF3 thing coming this year, which is going to be a little EV. It's going to probably have like 100 miles of range, but it'll be a great little commuter thing. And they want to target like a 20-ish grand price tag for that. And like, I hope that it's just one of those types of things. Like, it just takes one or two of those success stories to shift the market to everyone being like, holy crap, we need to do more of this. Same thing with like Ford Maverick is another like case study of how this has worked in the past. Maverick came out and then everyone else was like, oh man, we got to like do something like that. And then, Hyundai came out with the Santa Cruz, and it sounded like other companies were working on other stuff. It's taken a while, but I feel like, give it a few years. Sounds like Toyota's working on a Maverick competitor. You're going to see other stuff being like, hey, look, whenever you have a nice enough vehicle for 25 grand that gets 40 mpg in a pickup truck, you're going to have people lining up for years for that. And that's what Ford is showing the world. And I love that because it's, it's taking the focus away from these high-end things again and being like, hey, look, people still want to buy $25,000 cars. Don't leave those people behind. And hopefully they won't, even if the profit margins aren't the best. Hopefully they see that volume can make up for what you're lacking in, margin, hopefully. So we'll just have to see. But Daniel says, I like the one take review that you did a few weeks ago. Any plans to do more reviews in that format? So I think maybe you're referring to the Santa Fe. That's the only video I did that's like a one take kind of thing. And that was interesting. That was just because I had the luxury of having Kirk actually offered to film and like follow me around as I was doing that video. That video did terribly. A lot of that's probably just because my new Hyundai reviews usually just bomb. Like every single one of them does terrible for the most part. So I don't know if that's just the fault of it being a Hyundai or if that's the fault of the style of video that it was. But that just comes down to having someone film for me, which I don't usually have that luxury. So that was just kind of a fun experiment with that video because Santa Fe was already out. We were already kind of late to the game on filming that. So it's like, whatever, I'll just try this as a new thing. It'll be easier to edit. If it goes nowhere, it's not really a big loss. So I'm probably not going to do that again. I mean, people didn't really respond too much to that. So not something I'm probably going to do more of because I still really like the quality of the videos that I'm doing. And I don't want to downgrade the quality if it's just, a little less formal and like the video quality wasn't as good because I didn't do any B-roll really. I really like having like the close-ups of all the B-roll shots and stuff. I know a lot of others don't do that, but to me, like it's really great to have. If I had like a regular videographer, like many of the other, Joe Rady and Car Confections, all those guys have someone else that's able to sit there and they have a dedicated video person that always follows them around, does a really good job if you're doing that. That's, one thing, but I don't have that luxury. So for me, it's probably just going to be sticking to the same kind of, B-roll heavy videos for a good long while. But thanks for bringing that up. And yeah, anyone who's curious, check out the 2024 Santa Fe video if you want to see what we're talking about. But yeah, that one just didn't do too well. So probably not going to try that again. Austin also says Auto Tempest would be a good sponsor. Yeah, I worked with them a while back. We did a couple videos together. We did it on the Bentley Continental GT video that I did. It was called "Look Rich for 30 Grand" back then with Continental GT used, and did a couple others with them. But now they've just said I reached out to them last year, and they're really cool still. But they were like, we get more return on our investment by investing bigger amounts of money in the big channels versus doing small little things with all the smaller channels like myself. So they're happier to just sponsor the big guys and that's it. So no money from them for me, unfortunately, but I'd love to work with them in the future if they were up for it. And let me see. Austin says maybe Matt could run a drag strip and put cars through their paces, Motor Week style. That'd be fun. I'd love to do that. A lot of hoops to jump through for something like that. Obviously getting a drag strip's, the first thing that's tough, but even if I could do that, getting enough cars lined up, it's one of those logistical nightmares to try and get multiple press cars that are all drag strip worthy at the same time, the same place. The insurance costs of doing something like that. Like a lot of these places want you to have these $1 million policies, even if there's nothing around. Like, it's like, oh, well, even if you drive half a mile off the road and run into a tree or something, like, oh, we got to have this giant insurance policy on it for that kind of stuff. Those are the types of things like, I know everyone sees, Throwing House Haggerty and all these people do these drag strip things because they're these massive productions that have giant budgets to do all these, videos and stuff. I'd love to do it, but it's just something I know, Motor Week kind of manages it like once a year or something, but I'd love to do more of that. But just I don't have access to a track nearby that would let me do that kind of stuff, But it'd be fun. It'd be fun to do that, and it'd be great too to not have to worry about being on public roads if I can do drag strip, launch controls and on all that. But I love going down the drag strip whenever I get a chance on a press launch. But unfortunately, there's no actual drag strips remotely close to me either. So it'd also be like I got to drive an hour to do a quarter-mile run and then come back, just again, extra time, unfortunately. And let me see. Raphael says, by once a year, full detail of the car takes 3 full days. Okay, so yeah, getting back to the conversation earlier, I appreciate it. And let me see. So Austin says, yeah, he's asking, I guess someone's asking about the Bullet being sold. Yeah, officially sold. I have a video kind of talking through it all. and yeah, I went to a subscriber, so it's at a good home. Yeah, I appreciate that, Austin. And Chad says Jeep became the only national competition with 4x4, and that helped push forward to the Bronco. Toyota has the tech, but not the rep. Your thoughts? I think they kind of do have the reputation with the 4Runner. It's a little bit different, but I think it's kind of a similar kind of thing with 4Runner there. And we will see if they try and do something else, to more directly compete, that actually has like removable doors and all that. We'll just have to see if they're doing, I just don't know. I think they're kind of happy just to stay in their lane of 4Runner, now they got Land Cruiser and, those kinds of other vehicles without having to do anything full blown, as intense as, Bronco and Wrangler. But, who knows? Maybe they'll try something. We'll have to see. And Truck and Car Guy says he's seen a few Crowns running around. I've started to see more Crowns recently as well. I think the deals again are out there, and that's why you're starting to see Crowns pop up, because I hadn't seen them for like a year, and then I just the past month or so I've seen a couple. I'm like, okay, like people are finally getting deals on Crowns. And Dave says I saw reports on the last page of Car and Driver they had a full page ad about a Pontiac return. Interesting. I'll have to look into that. That's cool. I would love to see that make a comeback. Austin says he misses the music intros, and TFI PW says, yeah, bring back the dubstep intro montages. They just took so much time. That's another thing. I just like that took hours sometimes to do those little 30-second little intros, just finding the right song that's copyright free, syncing it up to the music, for the car shots and all that. It was fun for sure. I know I got so many complaints about the music all the time. It was like people were just like, music tastes are very personal. That was another thing. It was kind of, some people were like, oh, I had to click away immediately because I couldn't stand this dubstep crap in the beginning of the video. And so, I would say it didn't hurt the views that much back then because all those videos still did really well. But yeah, if I can someday get back to like a healthier work-life balance and I can have more time to take my time on an edit for a video, I might be able to do that. Because I kind of really liked if you saw the end of the Bullet video, I did a little montage that I had a song and, did a little montage. Like it was kind of fun to get back to that editing of doing, synced up to music and the little clips and stuff. Kind of reminded me of my old editing days. And I did enjoy that part of it. That's one of the few parts of editing I actually thought were kind of fun when I used to do that. It's just, again, it just takes so much time. So that's a problem there. But maybe someday I'll see if I can work that in. And Zachary says, I love that the videos get straight to the point these days. So that's, it's always, everyone's got different tastes there. It's tough. I appreciate all the love, everyone, though. I appreciate the hearts there. And B. Mitchell says, late getting in tonight on the road this week with a 19 Mustang. And the Wi-Fi is slow. Well, thanks for trying to join in. I appreciate it. And he said, thanks for the membership there as well. And B. Mitchell also says, have you considered Patreon or Locals as an alternative site like some marginalized YouTubers are doing? I think for me, I'm happy with the membership thing. It's easier being integrated right into YouTube there so that it's not people having to go to another site, trying to follow a link and click. And I think just having it all integrated into YouTube is easier. That's why I've just been doing the memberships instead. And the super chats and things like that. I appreciate all the love, guys, all the hearts there. And I think we're, probably passing the longest we've ever gone on a live stream here, I think. So I'll be wrapping it up here soon. But yeah, so I'm just sticking with the memberships for now. That seems to be okay. And let me see. Jose says nothing wrong with Elon politics. Yeah, it's his choice, whatever he wants to do, I guess. But Brianna says I shouldn't have sold the Bullet. I wish I didn't have to. I really wish I didn't have to. It's just one of those things it needed to be done just from a financial standpoint. Wish I didn't have to, though. And let me see. Other member questions here. I think we're close to getting caught up. So Jonas says Scotty's fallen off really hard. I haven't seen any of the stuff recently, but it doesn't surprise me. And Truck and Car Guy says, would love to see your opinion on Dave's Hellcat Magnum once he gets it dialed in. Yeah, I've been hearing about him working on that forever. That's been a long time coming for him. So I'm happy to hear that he's getting some work done on it there, and hopefully it works out for him soon. And Truck and Car Guy says, as far as BMW, probably a lot of wealthy people who don't care about styling. Maybe I think it's just people like standing out, even if it's not for a good reason. If they're people getting eyeballs on them, that's still a win for some of them. But Trunk Car, I said, gladly would take a 20-year-old M3 over any of these new BMWs. Yeah, probably me as well. I mean, there's some really good stuff. The new M2 is great. I really like the new M2. But some of the others, I'm like, Z4 is great. M3 and M4 seem great. Yeah, all the M stuff seems to be pretty good, but yeah. And B Mitchell says, my BMW still looks aesthetically stellar after 54 years. I agree. He's got like an early 70s one, if I remember correctly. And yeah, it looks great for sure. And Rishi, thank you so much for gifting a membership. I really appreciate that as well. And Goth Rocker says he's seen lots of crowns lately as well. And Sean's surprised we're still going here. Yeah. And Austin said bullet montage was a tearjerker. Yeah. And I'm sorry I caused everyone so much sadness too. It's one of those things, like it's a sad thing, and I feel bad, but because some people are like, wasn't planning on crying tonight, thanks. But like, obviously they weren't mad about it, I don't think, but it's yeah, it was tough. It's just such a crazy fun journey, but just thankful it happened. And Brana says Infinity with a gravestone. I think Infinity actually has a bright future. I mean, I think the new QX80 seems like it's priced a little high, but I'm hopeful that the rest of their stuff is more reasonable and ends up being compelling. We'll see. And Austin says, thanks for a great live stream, Matt. I can't think of any other YouTuber that's connected to their subscribers. Have a great week. I appreciate that. And that is really what I'm going for, and that's kind of what I try to convey in the bullet video and in everything. It's like I'm happy. I mean, even if it means I'm here an extra half an hour or whatever, like I want to, respond to everyone. I want to make sure everyone's questions get answered. If, especially the people that did the supers and our members and stuff, I feel bad I can't answer all the questions in general. But like I've always said in the past, if you have a question that didn't get answered tonight, please feel free to reach out. Any of the contacts there in the description below. Reach out on your preferred platform. Send me a message. I'm always happy to help people find a car they'll love, answer questions of any type, whatever. Always happy to interact. I'm hoping, I had a bunch of emails that came in back whenever the bullet video went up, and I haven't responded to all those yet. So I'm hoping I get some time here in the next few days to maybe get back to some of you that sent those emails that were so kind. So many people wrote such wonderful, long, really thoughtful emails and messages, and that was just blew me away. So I'm so appreciative to so many of you that took so much time out of your day to send kind supporting messages and all that. It really means a lot. So thank you again. And Richie says, in your opinion, best fun car for around 30 grand? Miata GR86 as the top two. And Goth Rocker says the bullet video was really sad. I get attached to cars like you. Yeah, I'm not the only one that gets that attached. I know a lot of people are like, it's just a car, relax. And it's like, all right, well, it just depends on how you're wired, I guess. Rishi says, all the love, man. You're the reason why I'm into cars. That's awesome. Thanks for saying that. I mean, I always just try to help people find cars they'll love, but hearing that people are actually enthusiasts, because of something they saw on this channel is really, really cool. So thank you for that. Happy to help supporting this awesome hobby that we all have. I think it's a lot of fun, and yeah, even though it could be a money pit and could be stressful depending on how you go about it, but hopefully it's a lot of fun even in these days of inflated car prices and stuff. Hopefully everyone's still having fun with the hobby. Garth Rocker says, I feel cars and even trucks do have personalities. I get attached. I keep my cars a long time. Same. Brianna says the Arteon is pricey. Yeah, I mean, I think they quit making those, right? Or they're just towards the end here, but hopefully there'll be some deals on them soon. B Mitchell says 28 minutes past closing. Too bad Matt doesn't get overtime from YouTube. Yep. No, just happy to hang. These are like my little cars and coffees almost. Getting to just chat cars with all of you. Always a blast. So anyway, but I think we've caught up here on the member questions. So thank you all so much once again for stopping by here on Mother's Day evening. Hope you all have a great week here, and got some good videos here coming up this week, and going to be on the road doing some other cool content I'll be filming here for you to stay tuned, and yeah, going to have some good stuff here. So anyway, but thank you all so much once again, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.